Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this week. And gosh, what a week we've had. As you guys can probably figure out, the big story is going to be the railroads. So we're going to talk a little bit about them. But before we do, hopefully you guys have all been having a fantastic week. I know the market. We last week we actually did a poll on this show, and most of us, I think, were expecting a green week, and we did get it. We did get a green week. Sure, we had two red days, but by the end of the week, the market made up for it. A lot of people's portfolios starting to see that green creep back in, so that's a really good thing. So definitely, I liked the week. Okay, now in regards to of the railroads, boy, what a storm! It sort of reminded me of somebody who's being very indecisive. Like, are we striking? Are we not striking? What's happening? What's going on? We're going to talk about that when we get to our first news story. But we got a little bit of time. We got a little bit of time before we have to jump right into the news. Okay. I do want to talk a tiny bit about Blossom. So for those of you who do not know what Blossom is, it is a social media app that is designed by, run by, and frequented by investors. So it is a place where you can go, you can hook up your portfolio if you want. You don't have to. That's completely optional. And you can talk about stocks. You can direct message people. All of that fun stuff. I am over there. There is a link down below in the extra info if you want to head over to Blossom. Follow my link. Be sure to follow me when you get there, because I certainly want to be able to have conversations with you and see what you're posting. So that's definitely something to check out. We also, because I know last week when we were talking about Blossom, there's a few people in the community that are not huge fans of Blossom, and that's fine. You don't have to be a huge fan. But we also do have a Discord. The Discord link, once again, down below. It is really cool. We have a lot of talk. Actually, we used to just have a Facebook groups, and we had a little bit of talk there, but Discord is blowing Facebook groups out of the water. Though, for those of you who do not like Discord and say, Facebook groups is my speed, we do have that as well. That link is down below. All that fun. Okay, let's get into the chat. Let's say hello to, holy cow, to all the people in here who are popping up. All right. We start with Amvas. Let's see. Kamusta Candice, a few months ago, you mentioned considering to translate some videos into another language. In AI Talk, Hey Gen AI switched presenters' videos to different languages. Thought of you. Yeah, that is something I do. Long term, I'm looking for that. Probably I'll start with French, because I think well, hello, we're in Canada. I would love to have a French version. Now, here's the thing, though. When this does happen, the French videos are not going to be on this channel. We'd actually make a brand new Mountain Finance and French channel, and that would have all of the French content once we get to that point. And then, of course, after French, there's a lot of languages out there, so we could someday have 57 different Mountain Finance channels, one for each of the big languages. So that's a possibility. Right now, the only one that's in the back of my mind is French at the moment. So, and we'll go from there. But I don't anticipate this happening right away. It's still in the thought. It's still in the thought stage. All right. A 9's in here with a pineapple. Not sure what the pineapple's for, but I'll take it. All right. We got a hola from Al. Prairie investors in the house. Good afternoon, Banana Bread Brigade. And a happy Sunday to all. And once again, as our fabulous host would say, hold on to your seats, folks. This is going to be a good one. Yeah, this is going to be a good one. Absolutely. Yeah, we've had some pretty kicking. We've had some very kicking this week in the last couple of weeks. So I always have high expectations. You know, try to make every show the best show. Try to make everyone. Yeah, absolutely. Venita's in the house with a hi all. We got Bismarcky. Happy Sunday. Let's hope that the market is good to us this coming week. Yeah, I agree. Vic has driven fast to make it. Awesome, awesome. Hopefully you don't have a speeding ticket to get here. Hopefully not. Amanda says hi. All finally caught alive at the start. Nice, nice. Gotta love that. Mary's in the house. You guys know if Mary's here, you gotta hit the like button. There's no compromise on this. Just hit that like button. I think right now there's 27 in here. So we should have 27 likes. We should have definitely 27 likes. Abalash says, hi, Candace. And let's see, Northwest Health spiked by around 10% in the last 2 trading days. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. I'm very bullish on REITs in general, and I've always had a I don't know if I can call it a soft spot, but I've always had a soft spot for NWH. So let's hope they can keep this up. I'm looking forward to watching. I'm really looking forward for people to see what REITs can do in a sinking interest rate environment. Prairie says, while there was little buying opportunity this week, the portfolio came up a happy 5% by week's end. Not too shabby. Not too shabby at all. Patricia says, hi. And we got Lisa saying, hi, everyone. Let's see. Vic says, wanted to swing TD, but it dipped and recovered before I could free up cash to buy. I know. I was looking to get in on I wanted to get in on at least one more share of CN. But they did not drop as much as I thought they would with all of the strike action. But oh dear, what can you do? What can you do? Let's see, Patricia, the bull and the bear are looking thoughtful. Yes, they're wondering where their trains are. That's basically it. That's basically it for sure. Funny Books says hello all. And let's see. Abalash says, parlez-vous la français? Not very well. So it would be like AI would do the translation. So, you'd have AI, with some kind of standard AI voice or something. Well, AI voices now are really good, but that's kind of what we would have to do. I, I think it would take too long for me to learn French. Although I used to be pretty good with French when I was younger, but it wasn't Quebecois. It was Parisian French. So, and that's didn't serve me well. Didn't serve me well in Canada at all. Let's see. Ian says, my portfolio is at all-time highs. See how long it lasts. Well, let's hope it lasts for a while. So there's nothing wrong with that. GA is in the house with a hi, everyone. And Ian says, EXE, so Extendicare, has been doing good for me. But the video you did, let's see, with EXE had different numbers than my EXE. My EXE is at 871 right now. Yes, there was a typo. There was a typo that snuck through in that video. So everything was right except for the price. The price, basically, it had somebody else's price on it. I think I had 15 something. So it is the 871 is correct, or whatever it was at that time. So yeah, as soon as I found out that slipped through, I managed to get through the editing process and everything. I went back and I double checked to make sure all of the other numbers used the right number, and they did. So we were happy with that. Very, very happy. Lisa says, I was waiting for CN to drop more as well. Yeah, I know. But yeah. And Bismarcky. Yes, I know. So I'll tell this story. So so on that VFV video, I was writing it. I'm like, okay, yeah, they have fractional investing over on Wealthsimple. All is good. Then I'm like, a little thought in the back of my head says, well, you better just go and check. Because as soon as you make that assumption, you're going to be wrong. So I went to Wealthsimple and I pulled it up and I tried to buy a fractional share and it didn't let me. So I was like, okay, it wasn't even giving me the fractional in the drop-down box. I'm like, I was like, I can't believe it. So then I threw it in the script and I'm like, yeah. So if I've had probably about 15 people tell me, oh my God, Candace, it does allow fractional. And yes, it does. My well simple was just being a banana bread head. Nothing I can say. Nothing I can say but that. Um, let's see. Ian, oh no, is XCE a REIT? I have it in my non-registered account. Yes, it is. It is actually a REIT. Um, yeah, they own basically a whole bunch of properties as well. They also own the actual services as well for the extended care homes facilities. But yeah, it is technically a REIT. Um, I, so yeah, I would maybe move it. If you have the room. If you don't have the room, well, you'll get you will get taxed on those dividends for sure. Prairie says I was hoping to pick up some NTR. Face the same problem as CNR. It didn't come down enough for me. Yeah. And Patricia, I was waiting for TD and CP to go down, but nope. What can you say? Oh, 9. You can buy fractional shares with pennies in Wealthsimple. Yes, this is something I've learned. I have learned from Nine's Adventures with QQCC. So that's always fun. All right. Oh, something I did want to bring up. I'm trying something different on the next video. So I made it without the green screen. I basically filmed it as though I was doing a live stream. So it's going to be a little bit different. I've changed up a few of the editing things because I actually wanted to minimize overall the amount of editing that I needed to do just to well, it's actually funny. I was watching some analytical videos on YouTube and they were saying that the less you do, the more people can relate to it. So I was like, okay, let's give this a whirl. So be sure to check out, well, actually Tuesday's video because Monday for the channel members, Tuesday for everybody else. So definitely check that out. Let me know what you think. Do you like that one better than the green screen? So, we'll use the green. I mean, if everybody likes that style, we'll go with that style. But, we'll use the green screen for other things. I'll have to use the green screen probably for shorts, but not like I do a lot of shorts. I do the occasional short. I should be doing more shorts. I know that. Mohammed says, hello, everyone. CN was higher a few months ago. Did it drop because of financial or the union contract expired? Maybe we'll go higher again. I think there's a multiple factors. One, there was a bit of a slowdown in the market. So overall market did come down a little bit and CN with it. And then in addition to that, all of the buildup to the strike and to the all of that mess, that certainly didn't help either. But I am really surprised. Like I really thought when they went on strike or when they locked them out, I thought we would have got a bigger downward motion than we got. We got a little one, but we just didn't get a big one. So what can I say? Avalicious, do you think Nutrien is still do you think Nutrien is a good buy? Still at 52 weeks low, I believe. Yeah, I mean, I am bullish on Nutrien long term. Now, there could be a little bit more downward movement depending on how much this disruption in the rail service has resulted in for them. Because you got to keep in mind, one of the things that they need as part of the whole fertilizer thing for making fertilizer is that ammonia. And that's been parked for almost a week. So depending on the supplies that they have, that could impact them. So we'll have to watch. We'll have to watch for that. But long-term wise, yeah, I'm still pretty bullish on them. All right, let's actually talk about let me see here. Here we go. We'll pull it up. All right, let's talk about our first news story. Now, this should be old hat by now. By now, I think everybody and their dog probably knows about the story because, it has been dominating the news cycle. But If you only get your news here, then maybe this will be all brand new news for you. So we'll have to see. So it did happen. We did have that situation where both CNR and CPKC they locked out their engineers as the calendar slipped into Thursday. So this all happened on Thursday. Fantastic. Rail strike, just what we need. There was chaos. There was absolutely chaos. Especially in some of the bigger cities with the whole transportation thing, because you had situations where there were some stations, for example, that were used by some of things like Go Train and stuff that were not usable because they were owned by CP or CN. There was also some tracks that couldn't be used as well. So it did impact quite a bit and caused a bit of a snarl up. So we thought going into this, and I said this before, I thought it was going to be a short strike. I was sure the government was going to get involved. Well, yeah, the government was definitely going to get involved. And that's interesting in itself. So here's the big thing. One of the reasons that this is such a big thing is that the rail industry in Canada. So our railroads, they basically contribute about $400 billion every year to our GDP. So that's more than $1 billion a day. So that's a huge hit when they're striking, and so we have taken some pain. We've definitely taken some pain here. And this is going to cost us a little bit of money, no doubt about it. And this is kind of the first time as well that they've been on strike at the same time. Normally, their contract negotiations are staggered, but as it goes, the government sort of stuck their nose in a year ago, and that resulted in them basically having their negotiation moved up to the same day. So we won't get too much into that part, but yeah, it's not a good thing. So, like I said, it didn't actually take the government a full day. So it took them about half a day. By the middle of Thursday, they came out and said, "Okay, yeah, we're going to send it to binding arbitration." They're not sending it to binding arbitration. They were suggesting that the Federal Labor Board order binding arbitration on this. So it wasn't technically a binding arbitration at that point, but normally when that happens, everybody goes back to work. Now, Friday morning, there was a little bit of puttering going on around CN, but over at CPKC, there was no puttering. The lockout continued, the strike continued. I mean, they had no intention of doing anything at that point. So they also came out and they said, we're not going back. We're not letting the government just send us into a binding arbitration. We're not doing it. This needs to be settled at the table. We're holding our ground. So it got to the point that they were holding their ground, and then CN turned around and said, yeah, we're filing a new strike notice. We'll work, but we're going on strike again in 72 hours. So basically, they filed once that they would go back on strike on Monday. So that was kind of how it was looking going into the weekend. Well, here's the thing. The Labor Board ruled yesterday on Saturday. They came out and they ordered the binding arbitration. They said, yeah, it has to be done. And they also ordered the workers to go back to work under their old contract until a new one can be ratified after, binding arbitration and such. So they don't have a choice at this point. They're all going back to work on Monday. Is the drama over? Not entirely, because CPKC is still planning to take it to court because they're like, this is not fair. We should have that right to strike, to get a better working, conditions like everybody else in a union type thing. So they are challenging it and they are going to take it to court. They will work though. So everybody will be going back. Now, how long? I guess the big question will be, how long is it going to take everything to get back to normal? It could be a week. It could take a week to get things back up and running. But Boy, we've had some railroad drama. Now, there could still be more drama when this eventually goes to court, but that's going to be way down the road, to be honest. Canadian courts don't exactly move very fast, so yeah, we'll have to see how that is going to come out. All right, let's see. Jersky says, "Hello, as a farmer, our crop prices are down, so I expect NTR to slip further." Okay, and that's fair enough. Yeah, I mean, obviously, well, here's the thing though. Are you actually, even though your crop prices are down, are you paying less for fertilizer and some of the products that Nutrien provides? Because if you're not paying any less, then that wouldn't have a giant impact, unless because crops are low, if crop prices are down, and you're not planting as much. That could then you wouldn't need as much fertilizer, so that could certainly have an effect as well. So we'll have to sort of look and see as we get into the fall, see how that's all going to shape up. JJ's in the house with a hello banana bread shirt, I think, or banana bread armor. And let's see. Vic says, guilty of not hitting the like on the way, but have corrected that transgression. There we go. There we go. Awesome. 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 Government ordered binding arbitration, but looks like CP Union not listening. That's exactly what had happened. But now they don't have a choice because the Labor Commission is like, yeah, you're doing it. You're doing it. You don't have a choice. Al is not a fan of unions. I think, and this is kind of my opinion. I think long time ago, unions were probably very well needed. But I think the importance, it has dwindled over the years. So I try to stay kind of neutral on that. But I do know when I used to manage at a superstore, my employees were unionized, and it was one of the biggest headaches in my life because of just the simple rules. Just to give you an example, I had a budget. So I had so many hours in my budget that I could allocate for people to do stuff. So sometimes I would have a job that needed to be done, and I would look at the rules. And the rules were whoever had the most seniority, I had to ask them first. No, that's just the rules. So if I had extra hours in my budget and I needed a specific task done, when I inherited the department, I had a lot of people who were there for a long time and who pretty much were just do the bare minimum to get by. And so if I gave those tasks to them, I kind of knew afterwards I was going to have to find a way to get the job done the right way after they completely messed it up. And then trying to fire them was very hard too, because the union would send in their representative, and it's like, well, they have to have the 3 of the exact same offenses. I'll be okay. They were given instructions. They didn't follow the instructions. This is a consistent reoccurring behavior. And it's like, oh yes, but it's different. It's different, So they would always find some difference each time so that I could never get anything done. And it was just a pain. It was a pain. I'm not saying that it's like that with all unions, but that union in particular, and that's pretty much the only union I've ever had to interact with. They were a bane. They were a pain to my existence. So we'll leave it at that. Enid says, "Hello, everyone. Good afternoon." Let's see. Mary J. Blige says, "No more drama." Yeah, there we go. Let's see. Only 18, like from 37, attending the stream. Come on, people. That's the like button. That's that like button. Here, I'll help you out, Enid. I'll have a drink of coffee. Well, you guys, that pause in my drinking, you might as well just hit the like button. You got nothing better to do. Oh, that's really good. Terry says, "Hello, friends. Bless us each and every one." For some reason, that made me think of Tiny Tim. I don't know why, but it did. Prairie says, "I'm with you, Al Bundy. They had their time and place in history, but enough is enough in my books." All right. There we go. All right. You know what? This is not the only news story. We do have other news stories. So let's Let's drop another one here for us. All right. So, Canadian inflation data dropped this week. So, we had both our CPI as well as our PPI. Now, here's the nice thing, they were both supportive of a rate cut in September. So, when it came to the CPI, so year over year, they were forecasting 2.7%. We came in at 2.5%. So that's fantastic because it was 2.7 in June. So inflation is still coming down. This is really, really making it look like a September rate cut's almost a sure deal, almost. Now, month over month, they had forecast 0.2%. It did come in a little higher, 0.4%. So, but even then, it's not really anything to worry about. We've got this whole going from 2.7 to 2.5. It's kind of interesting. We're on this wave right now of inflation coming down that we're getting to the point that CPI isn't even as important as, unless something big happens in it, but it is starting to sort of come down a little bit. Now, core CPI, that's where we strip off the most volatile aspects, things like oil and food. That was forecast to come in at 1.9. It came in at 1.7. So that's pretty darn good as well. Now PPI, they were forecasting it to come in at, let's see here, at 0.3. Sorry, no, they were 0.3. 3. They were forecasting to come in at 3. It came in at 2.9. So once again, another good point. Month over month, they were forecasting negative 0.1. It came in at exactly 0. But once again, overall, these are some really good numbers. And this is a good CPI. And that's a beautiful thing. This is the last CPI going into that September rate cut meeting, which will be September 4th. So we're probably going to see another 25 basis points coming off, which is going to be good once again for REITs and utilities and anybody carrying a lot of debt. So it'll be great for Rogers and, Bell and Telus as well. So that's not too shabby at all. I'm liking it. Ian says, sorry to come back to it, but I asked ChatGPT if Extendicare was a REIT, and it said no. How confident are you that Extendicare is a REIT? ChatGPT is often wrong. Extendicare, it follows those same behaviors as a REIT. So tax-wise, it is treated such as a REIT. So I'm pretty confident in that. Absolutely. JJ says, I finished work just in time to catch the live. Driving my way home at the moment. Okay, there we go. So be sure, if you have to make comments, be sure to pull over. Or at least wait for a light. Let's see here. Ian says, I asked GPT if it was sure. It said it was until 2004, then it restructured. Okay, fair enough. But keep in mind, there are some companies. So I'll give you another example. Timber Creek Financial. So Timber Creek Financial is not a REIT. But, and here's the thing, all of the income coming out of them, because they're what they're called an MIC, all of that money that does come out of them, they basically it's treated as interest. It's not even treated as a dividend. So the best way to double check this, Ian, is if you go to their website, there should be some tax information in the way it's being treated tax-wise. That will give you that clarity. So even if it's not an official REIT, it still behaves like it. And tax-wise, you're still paying on all of that. So that's definitely something you want to, be 100% sure of. All right. Now, if you want to bring it up later in the show after we're finished the news, I could certainly bring that up and we can go into that and take a look. And heck, maybe if I'm wrong, I'll be like, what? But I don't feel like that's the case. Vic says, rediscovering good old music of the 80s and 90s, fun rabbit hole. Market also looks like 1995. Yeah, the music in the 80s and the 90s, definitely pretty darn good stuff. And it's kind of neat. Like, I find 80s music, you can almost tell from the first couple of beats right away if it's an 80s song just because they have that distinctive sound to them. All right. Let's see what we got up here next. All right. Some more strike news. This is a slightly different strike news. So, Air Canada, somebody mentioned this in the comments last week. So the Airlines Pilots Association, they voted 98% in favor of strike action. So pilots and the airlines, they're currently in a 60-day period of federal consolidation. So when that ends on August 26th, they then have a 21-day cooling off period that begins. So pilots will technically be in a legal strike position by about mid-September. So that's going to be interesting. Now, pilots are seeking improved rates, pay rates. So not rates for what customers are paying, but they want better pay and a few other quality of life improvements as well. So that's what they're working for. Negotiations are ongoing, so that's a good sign. They are at the table. They are talking. Most people think that they have made a lot of agreements on all of this, a lot of the smaller stuff, but they do have an impasse at a few of the bigger items, and that's not great. But this is kind of an interesting one. Most people close to the situation are thinking that they will have a deal before we get to a point where there would be any kind of a disruption from it. So something just to keep in mind in the back of your mind, this is happening. Now, if Air Canada did manage to go to a strike, boy, that might give us another buying spot. But so far, I'm hearing that it's looking like they're going to be okay. So what can I say? What can I say? The Bronski beat. Oh, yeah, I remember the Bronski beat. There we go. There we go. Can we buy into Porter Airlines? I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I honestly don't know. Vic says, "Imagine chaos if FOMC doesn't cut." Um, here's the thing, and I don't have this in a news story. There was, of course, Jay Powell had his big meeting this week, and he did a big news conference, of course, as normal, and he basically said, right now, rate cut is on the table. We're kind of trying to figure out, how big it's going to be. So I'm not expecting them to sort of back off. The language that was used in this meeting, I'm calling that rate hike a rate hike, that rate cut 100%. Now the question is, what are we looking at? Are we looking at a 25 basis points? Are we looking at a 50 basis points? It's going to be interesting. I'm going to stick with the 25 only because it is their first cut. Let's just, give them 25, let them all, let them sort of let that sink in. And then maybe if, inflation is still coming down really fast, you could then go to a 50 maybe in the next meeting. But I would say start them off with 25. But I am willing to admit they could very well come in with a 50. That is not outside of the realm of possibility. And that's one of the reasons we had that very strong end of the week. The market really liked hearing this. The market was green. Bitcoin, same thing. We'll look at that a little later too, because we had some fun movement in Bitcoin during the end of the week. Let's see, VIX 75. Nice. All right, let's get to our next news story. Let's get to our next. I like it. We're getting these over with. Faster than normal. So Meta ad powered growth. What's going on with that? So this is kind of an interesting thing. When you look at a lot of the tech companies as they struggled last month, especially with some of their earnings, one of the issues is that they weren't able to communicate effectively to their shareholders how they're making money with AI. Well, Meta's in a different boat. They've been very good at communicating to their investors how AI is making them a bunch of money. So this all boils down to one thing: AI-driven advertisements. So when you're on Facebook if you ever notice, a lot of the ads that are there are things that you're kind of interested in. That's because AI is analyzing your posts. They're analyzing everything you do on Facebook. So that way they can serve up to you the ad that is the most likely to maybe get that click from you. So that's kind of an interesting thing here. So they're just very good at matching Facebook users with ads that have a high probability of getting clicked. And I will admit, there's every so often I'll see something, I'm like, ooh, this is something I would love, but I refuse to click. I refuse. If I wanted 100% to buy the product, I will go to Google and search for the product on my own, just so I don't give Facebook that click. But yeah, it is working. It is working. Now, in addition to the ads, which of course, that is where most of Facebook's money comes from, is all of those ads. They make a crazy amount of cash. But also, they're also the fact that they're starting to see a lot of engagement that's driven by AI search. So, as you guys probably have seen, there is that new Meta AI in there that it, so a lot of people are using it. I tried it once. I asked it a question and it didn't have an answer. So, but that was only because I knew I had a post in the last 10 years that mentioned one little item and I wanted to find it. And I was hoping it would be able to search my my stuff and it couldn't. I was like, oh, dear banana bread. Why not? So, but the bottom line is, I guess for Meta, as they have been exceeding expectations, and as a result, since the beginning of the year, yeah, they've been doing well. Just the last month alone, while the tech companies were struggling, they were up 13%. So that's not too shabby, not too shabby at all. I'm definitely liking it. Let's see. Jersky says inputs are the same as last year. Crop prices are down quite a bit. Okay, fair enough, fair enough. So that's the thing. If inputs are the same and if you're still paying the same price for fertilizer, you're not using any less. Um, that's really probably not going to hurt Nutriem as much. But as I mentioned before, that ammonia which is used in making fertilizer, that could have an impact. So, maybe we'll get a little bit of a retracement on Nutrien. So for those people looking for a better buy-in point, that might be coming up. We'll have to sort of see how that works out. It also depends too. I mean, if they've managed to, if they're looking ahead and they saw the rail disruption coming and they're able to store more ammonia, but I think there's limits. Like I know with chlorine, there are limits to how much you're allowed to store because, well, it's chlorine. It's a gas that can cause a few issues. We're not just talking about explosions. You have a big giant chlorine leak and it can kill people. So definitely something, and I think ammonia is kind of in that boat too, because you can make explosives from ammonia. It's not the only ingredient, but just something to put in there. So it depends on how much they're able to hold, and if they run out, that's where they're going to run into issues. Is if they actually run out of ammonia. So just something to keep in mind. Yesterday is here. Hello, all. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. I guess you're early since you're yesterday. I don't know. Wow, that's a bad joke, but that's fine. I'll leave it at that. I'll leave it at that. All right. Boy, we're really getting through the news. So the big edit. We got the big edit. So, and this was also, you guys have brought this up recently. So the big jobs revision dropped in the US this week, and it appears that there were 818,000 less jobs in the US over the last year than reported. So, and when we say the last year, we're talking March 2023 to March 2024. So this has been the biggest revision since all the way back to 2009. Most of these jobs, most of them were in professional and business service industry, so 358,000 there. And leisure and hospitality, 150,000 there. Now, despite these numbers, because they sound big, they do sound big, But despite these numbers, the overall US economy, it still looks good in terms of job growth. But mind you, the Fed is paying attention to jobs right now because they don't want to see them weaken any more than they already have. They feel that jobs have weakened enough. So little news like this is like them going, well, okay, they've weakened a little bit more than we thought. But keep in mind, these revisions, they do happen all the time. They just, normally it's not quite so big, but if anything, this does sort of help cement in that rate cut in September. Um, but we already kind of know, even without this, I think we would still be in a good position. All right. I love it. I love it. Love it. Love it. Let's see. Jobs down in the States because Trump fired all his lawyers. Yeah. Yeah. That would be a hard sell. You go into a law firm and it's like, yeah, I'm looking for a job. I'm a lawyer. Oh, let's look at your resume. Who did you work for last? Oh, oh, or you never know. That could be a selling point too. But yeah, yeah, poor lawyers. I don't normally say poor lawyers very often, just to say, because, well, you guys know. All right. Our next story. ATD takes a big gulp. So this is an interesting one. So as you guys probably have heard, Alimentation Couche-Tard has been looking to expand. So they've actually been looking since before the pandemic. They just haven't found the right company to take over, or these companies have not been very helpful when it comes to taking over them. But they are kind of happy because the rules to acquiring and foreign takeovers in Japan have now loosened quite a bit. And because of that, Couche-Tard is like, ooh, we got a chance to take 7-Eleven. So they're after 7-Eleven. They are actually a Japanese company, in case you did not know that. So they kind of got a two-prong approach. So the first is a friendly acquisition. That's preferably the way they want to go. So the thing is, for them to have a friendly acquisition, they have to have, there has to be a big majority of the shareholders who vote for it. So that's what makes it friendly acquisitions a little bit more difficult. And there is a good chance that the 7-Eleven could reject their offer. And if that happens, well, Alimentation Couche-Tard has a secondary plan called a hostile takeover. So that's their next big thing. Now, if they are successful, if they manage to bring 7-Eleven under their banner, this would make them the largest convenience store in the world. So we're talking about more than 100,000 stores worldwide. That's huge. That's absolutely huge. Now, from an investing perspective, and this is where you want to watch this story, especially if you are holding Alimentation Couche-Tard. So to do this, they are going to need to come up with a lot of cash. It is thought that this purchase would cost them about $38.4 billion. So how do you come up with that when you're a big company? Well, one way is you take on a lot of debt. So we're looking to see their debt go up big time. Second, we're also looking at a fair amount of dilution. So they will print more shares and sell them to make up for some of that, which means if you're holding their shares and they go and start printing a bunch of shares, well, just like when you print a bunch of dollars, your dollar is worth less. Same thing with your shares. Your shares then become worth less and the prices start to come down. Now, the beautiful thing is, if this deal goes through, I mean, I'm still bullish on this company long term. However, you'll get an opportunity to get in at a much cheaper price if this happens. And here's what I would do. Now, I've already sold out of ATD because I had some bad feelings, a little bit of bad feelings, but I also thought, I don't want to say bad feelings as in they're going down. Feelings as in I'm not going to get a lot of profits out of them at this point in time. So I moved to, other stocks that I think I could get better profits from. How I would play this is if I was holding or if I was heavily invested in ATD and this starts to move forward, I would probably look for an exit strategy, maybe park that cash somewheres else, and then I would come back to ATD probably, could even be a year later once they've, finished all of their dilution and once they're down at the bottom and things are, they're back to their rebuilding at that point. Um, that's probably when I would get back in and then ride that back up. Mind you, it won't go all the way back up really fast because dilution tends to be a bit of a stumbling block to getting back up. So if this were to happen and you were a recent investor in HED and you're sitting at the top and then they go down and you get all of that dilution, well, you're going to be in the red for a while. Sort of like the way it happened with Air Canada. You could be in the red for like years. We're not talking about like, for a couple of weeks. We're talking more along the lines of years. So it's something to keep in mind. Of course, I'm not advising you guys to go and start selling out of ATD. I'm more or less advising you to have a plan in case this happens to ATD. Do your due diligence, look at your own profile and decide what you want to do if this happens. But it is definitely, I think, something that you want to definitely be aware of for sure. All right. Abalash says Trump was going to win against Biden. Now it feels like a toss up as Harris can likely bring in the Gen Z, millennials, and women. How do you think this will affect Canada? Um, it's an interesting thing. Uh, it's kind of that thing where I think that this administration, so if we get a Harris administration, I think it'll be easier to relate to either, either the current government or the next government. I think it would probably relate better than Donald Trump was because Donald Trump tends to be a little bit adversarial. Um, I think we'll adapt to it. I don't think it's a bad thing for Canada one way or the other. You know, technically, if you have Trump in, he's not super friendly towards Canada, and we could be looking when it comes down time to renegotiate the North American Free Trade Act. That agreement, the last time it came up, he does not make concessions for Canada. I think Harris would probably be a lot more friendlier when it comes to that. And that could be good for us. That could be good for our exports, and that's kind of an important thing. You know, Donald Trump has this America first. And there's nothing wrong with having your country first, but I think he doesn't have as much diplomacy in there, and it overrides things a little bit. So that would definitely, I think Harris would probably be better for Canada in the long term. But you can make arguments for both. Like Trump would probably be better for the stock market, but you have to sort of look at it and kind of weigh it. One of the things I'm glad that as Canadians, we don't actually have to vote. We can sort of sit back and just sort of watch the show as it happens. Right now, I'm leaning towards, right now, I think based on like, if we went to the poll, if they went to the polls tomorrow, I think Harris would win. So we need to sort of see one of the things, and I've mentioned this before, one of the things I think that's really shooting Trump in the foot is he's too worried about things like, who has the bigger crowd. And he's not concentrating on the things I think that he should be. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Vic says, everything's so damn expensive in the market. Couldn't even get a deal on CP or CN. I know. I know. Nutrient only, both the only thing that's cheap, also MG. There we go. Yesterday says he's not sure friendly on Trudeau. No. I give Trudeau credit for one thing. Back during when Trump first got in power, Trump had that weird handshake domination thing he was doing with everyone. And he tried to do it on Trudeau, and Trudeau resisted. So I give Trudeau a lot of credit for that. He did this whole resisting thing, and it was the most awkward handshake I think I've ever seen. But I was like, okay, Trudeau, I liked that. That was good. I certainly like that. Vic says, we are not friendly to Trudeau. Yeah, well, I mean, Trudeau's time, yeah, we all know, and hopefully deep down he understands that his time is done. This is his last hurrah. But yeah, we'll have to see. Now, keep in mind, we do have 2 by-elections coming up here in September, and I think if the Liberals lose both of those, especially if they lose the Montreal one, that will be I think that will be a big message for him. Will he understand it? I don't know. But I'm hoping. JJ says it's over for him. And yeah, Trudeau. It's that thing. It's like, I'm hoping, and this is what I would like to see, honestly. I would like to see him step down sooner than later, get a new leader in, give them time so they have time to, get back up to steam and make the election not about Trudeau per se. That would be the smart thing to do. The least amount of time he leaves between when he leaves and that election, the worse I think that the Liberals are going to do. Because if he were to resign before the end of this year, then you could bring in somebody else, and you want to make sure, you don't want it to be like Chrystia Freeland. You want it to be somebody, perhaps somebody who just hasn't been, I think, a lot in the news. That's what I would say. Somebody as far away from Trudeau as possible, and give them time to sort of let people get used to a different Liberal Party. They're still going to lose, but maybe you'll end up being the official opposition. That would be kind of a nice thing, because I know with some of the polling right now in Quebec, I think the Liberals are even coming in third. I think the Conservatives are polling in first, followed very closely by the Bloc Québécois, and so yeah, we'll have to see. Yeah, exactly. And Patricia is saying Montreal is usually red. Yeah, and the same thing. Another big stronghold for the Liberals is the Maritimes. The Maritimes have been, there's a lot of red in the Maritimes, and sometimes, well, depending on where, there's a little speckles of orange as well. But I don't think they're getting there. I just don't think. I think right now they're failing pretty hard in the polls in the U.S. Or the U.S. Sorry, in the Maritimes. I don't think anybody is arguing for Trudeau down in the States. Vic says, I find Freeland's voice a bit annoying. Okay, fair enough. Candace for PM. There we go. I'd need to have we could have the banana bread party. So, you guys would all have to be like MPs, right? We'd have to get ourselves running in every district, but we probably wouldn't win, but that's fine. It'd be funny. Let's see. Freeland talks to the general public like we're all idiots. It's very condescending. Yeah, I don't see. This is the thing. I don't know her background. I'm just wondering if perhaps if she was a teacher, because sometimes I find former teachers tend to sometimes talk down a little bit because they're so used to training people that they try to sort of come in with the lowest denominator type approach. All right. Let's see. You're a patient person if it's only a bit. There we go. Prime Candace. Let's see. I think Freeland has a bit of the aristocrat vibe, similar to Trudeau. They need someone who can connect with a common person. Yeah, exactly. If only Walls could come up. The VP pick for Kamala. He'd be a fun prime minister, I think. But yeah, we'll have to see. Let's see. Freeland's head bombing annoys me to no end. Ooh, Optimus Prime can't. Well, that's taking me to the evil side, right? Or no, is it Optimus? Yeah, Optimus Prime is the bad one. I had to think for a second. Oh dear. All right, we still got more news, guys, by the way. We're almost through the news. Actually, I do have something in the crypto corner today as well, but all right. Pumpkin spice time again. So Starbucks has actually brought back Starbucks. I should probably drink from the Starbucks mug. Oh, so good. So Starbucks has brought back their pumpkin spice latte early this year. So they basically came out about 2 weeks early. So this is earliest. This is the earliest they've done it in their entire 21-year history of the pumpkin spice latte. Now, obviously, this is a complete sales move for Starbucks, as right now, currently, their pumpkin spice lineup makes up about 10% of their total sales. So they're looking for that push. They're looking for that push. And last year, pumpkin spice sales were actually up by a full 42%. So that's not too shabby. Now, Starbucks may be off to the pumpkins first, but other stores are expected to be on their heels. So Tim Hortons, they're expecting to drop their pumpkin products by the beginning of September. And going back to our last story, 7-Eleven, get this, they're rolling out a pumpkin spiced Slurpee. I don't know if that would be good. It probably will be. But I'm like, it's never crossed my mind that we need a pumpkin spice Slurpee. So just something to keep in mind. Something to keep in mind. Oh boy. Let's see. Walsh could be president one day. I agree. I agree. I like him. I think he's fun. What's Don Cherry doing these days? I don't know. I'm not sure. Uh, haven't heard of him. And he's one of these people that someday when his day is done, there'll be a notification on Facebook or something that Don Cherry has passed, and I'll be like, oh, I thought he was already passed. That happens. That happens sometimes. I think just recently it happened. Bob Newhart, when he died just recently, I was kind of like, oh, I thought he was already. So, kind of one of those things. And JJ says, no, Optimus Prime is the good. Oh, is it? Okay. So, Megatron is the bad one. All right. There we go. Megatron is the bad one. Okay. The Decepticons are the bad ones. Optimus Prime is the good one. Okay, I get it. All right. Leaves turning yellow in Alberta. Nice. Oh, everybody, you got to hit that like button. There's 45 of you here, so there should be 45 likes. I'm thinking there should be 45. You know what? For that one person who's colorblind, there should be 44. But we'll go with that. Let's see. Isn't Nickel going to? Whoops. Wait a minute. I clicked on it and I didn't read it. Thanksgiving holiday sales starting up already. Yeah. I would not be surprised to start seeing Christmas stuff in the stores in September. It keeps getting earlier every year. It's actually funny. I know. I mentioned that I used to manage at a superstore. I remember one year. All of a sudden, apparently Costco put up some Christmas cards in August. And next thing you know, we're putting up Christmas cards in August, a whole front display. Boy, just listening to the customers grumble. Like as we were putting this display up, people were just making the comments. Oh boy, they were intense. But, and I even pushed back against upper management, and they were like, well, Costco's doing it, so we have to do it. And besides, it's cards, and people need time to send cards all over the world and all of that fun stuff. So, yeah, nowadays, I don't know. Does anybody, let me ask this question. It's a Christmas question, but we'll ask it anyway. Do any of you actually send cards anymore? Or do you just, send an electronic card? That's what I do. I'll send my mom like an e-card each year, but I can't remember the last time I actually physically sent a real Christmas card. So kind of cool. Let's see. Isn't Nickel going to commute 100 kilometers? That's a good question. I do not know, but that's a 1,000 kilometers is huge. Let's see. Bismarcky says, I confess, I like pumpkin spice donuts from Timmy's. Yeah, absolutely. My favorite is I love this pumpkin spice latte, but I also love the pumpkin scones that Starbucks will make. I find them just fantastic. Let's see, that sounds gross. Love pumpkin pie. Yeah. Uh, Jungle Eddie doesn't get the pumpkin spice fascination. Uh-oh. And JJ's like, the pumpkins, well, pumpkin spice Slurpee sounds disgusting. It does, but I'll tell you, when I was a kid, I had the store nearby. There was a tub of ice cream, and it was a holiday ice cream, and it was a pumpkin ice cream. And I was like, oh, pumpkin ice cream. That sounds interesting. So I bought it. And I took it home, and I had some, and I'm like, oh my God. I didn't think this was going to work, but it really, really did. So I became obsessed with pumpkin ice cream. And quite literally, I could never find it again. Probably 20 years after that event, I finally found a little place in Ottawa that was serving up some pumpkin ice cream. And I had some, and it was just as good. But now you can go to Dairy Queen and get like pumpkin pie blizzards and that. It's everywhere now. But yeah, it sometimes pumpkin works in things you just wouldn't expect. Let's see. I think it should be warm the pumpkin spice. Yeah, absolutely. Dollarama here in Winnipeg have Halloween stuff out. And Costco, oh God, Costco has the Christmas stuff out already. Okay. Let's see. The like button still gets highlighted even when colorblind. Okay, fine. Fair enough. Fair enough. So don't give too much slack. All right. I'll try not to give too much slack. Let's see. Stamps are like $3 now. Like for an individual stamp, is it $3? Now, I still have some stamps here, but I bought them about a year ago, and they don't actually have a dollar amount on them. These ones are just, I think they have little hockey players on them. JJ says, e-cards, stamps are a bit too expensive. Yeah, I'm hearing $3. Wow. Patricia says, yes, I do send cards by mail. Oh, boy. That's kind of cool. Let's see. JJ says, Candace, could you send the StreamYard link? I might hop on when I get home. Yeah, I could do that. Once we finish the news, I have one last thing. After I do that, I'll drop a link in. For sure. Yesterday, oil prices going up after this last attack. This is an interesting thing, though. You know, a lot of people are looking at this last attack as as actually lessening the tension overall in the Middle East, because it's like this is the attack that that people have been expecting. So I don't know. It's kind of hard. It's kind of weird. It's almost like that story, The Boy Who Cried Wolf. This has been happening so much lately in the Middle East that I think oil's almost kind of like, yeah, we're not going up. There's not going to be a war. We're fine. And I've actually seen some economists believing that oil's gonna go a little lower before we get anything else. So it's kind of an interesting thing. We'll have to watch. We'll watch oil this week. Now it did rebound on Friday, so that was always nice. Let's see. Patricia says it's actually $1.15 for a stamp, but you could still purchase the booklet. Okay, $1.15. So where are you getting that $3 at, Vic? Vic, they're overcharging you. Go to the post office and buy them. If maybe you'll get them cheaper. A Funny Book says, I watched on the TV and switched to my phone when I want to engage in chat. I can't chat on the TV, but virtual like to you, Candace. Oh, there you go. There is a way to actually like on the TV. Well, on my TV, I can like. Usually I have to click on the main button. It brings up the bar where it's going across. And there's usually, I can usually maneuver up to a little the like button up there, but it depends on your TV, I suppose. So yeah, but there's nothing like having me on the TV. I like that. I approve. Vic says, North American market's too hot. Looking at China, India, Europe emerging in other parts of the world. Yeah, well, the India market, that is definitely huge. Definitely huge for sure. All right. JJ says, Funny Books, tell Alexa or Google Assistant to send one on your behalf on the TV. There we go. Maybe it could. I don't know. Let's see. Nan likes to watch you on TV. So is that your grandma? Because, I used to call my grandma Nan. So kind of a fun little thing. All right. We do have one last story here, folks. So let's grab up the crypto corner. So this is really interesting. So over in Norway, So there's a Norwegian sovereign wealth fund. Basically, they've got about $1.7 trillion invested. And basically, what this means is a sovereign wealth fund means that all of the people technically own it. So they all own a little piece of what's in it. So they have a AI algorithm that they let run the fund. And that AI basically said, we need more Bitcoin. So it increased their holdings up to $149.48 million worth of Bitcoin. So let me just a little explanation, I guess, about this. So their AI algorithm, it basically determines by sector weighting, and it decided that they weren't holding enough Bitcoin. So this current purchase of Bitcoin, it increased their total from, so they had 1,508 Bitcoin. Now they have 2,446 Bitcoin. So it increased that by 938 Bitcoin. So it's kind of cool. I think it's neat that they're letting AI run their system. I'm like, that's really, really neat. So just something to keep in mind. Coming up next week on our calendar, I should probably make a calendar picture for this part. Um, it's a pretty slow week in Canada. There's not a lot happening. Pretty much the next big thing is going to be our September 4th Bank of Canada interest rate decision. Now, in the US, there is one big report coming out. So the personal consumer expenditures, or PCE, that does come out on Friday. And that is one of the favorite favorite inflation indicators that the Fed uses. So we'll have to take a look at that. I still think even if that were a little bad, I still think we're going to get that rate cut. So I don't think it. I think we've come too far. Now, earnings wise, oh boy, this week coming up is Bank Week. So we got the Royal Bank, we got the Bank of Montreal, Scotiabank, CIBC, National Bank, Canadian Western Bank, EQB, Laurentian Bank, and we also have Skidoo. Skidoo is in there as well. Now, US, nothing really that big. I think Peloton has earnings. Eyes are all focused on NVIDIA. Well, NVIDIA is this week coming up. It's the 28th. So all eyes are on NVIDIA. Not so much Peloton, but NVIDIA. And here's the beautiful thing. We will be on the air as that drops, because that's dropping on Wednesday. So we're going to be able to watch and see the chaos that happens as it drops. We'll be watching the after-hour ticker. This is going to be fantastic. It will be absolutely cool. All right. Now, I am going to, just give me a second here. All right. I am dropping in the chat a link, because it's one of the things I said I'd start doing after we got through the news. I'm going to let folks come on and say hi and talk and give you guys a chance to meet each other, all of that fun stuff. So that link is there. I'll drop it again if somebody asks me, but yeah, anybody is welcome to come on. Anyway, we'll just leave it at that. I do need to, give me 1 second here. I need to remove that. There we go. And we'll go biggest screen one more time. There we go. I do have my, do I? No, I don't. I've lost my second screen. So give me 1 second. I'm going to pull that up right away. Just because, you guys ask questions that I need stuff to pull up. All right. Share screen, entire screen. And we'll do this right now. All right. Now this here, I just want to point out, this is kind of fun. So we've been looking at Bitcoin the other day, and you'll see this blue thing down here. So this is what's called a resistance zone. So this is where Bitcoin's been struggling for a while. Now on Wednesday's show last week, we were about here. We had just started coming up here, and I made a prediction. I predicted that we weren't going to get through, that this zone was going to hold, but I also said on that show that it was only going to hold one more time. and that we would make another run and we would break through. And we did. We broke through on Friday. Now on Friday's show, um, let me just, I'm going to extend this here. We put in, this is where it was on Friday. So we are doing a little bit better. Right now we're sitting at 64,375. In this new world, with all of those US spot Bitcoin ETFs, I find we don't get as much movement on the weekend as we used to. So, we'll have to see if this is going to make another run. Now, it will be interesting. Like, it did make it all the way up to 64.9, so 60, almost 65, but it got pushed back down here. I think Monday we have a chance. I do think we have a chance of breaking that. But right now, we're kind of back building a little bit. So we'll have to sort of look and see once we have a definitive pattern. Right now, I don't have a definitive pattern, but I can see a couple little things in here. And normally, we're looking right now on the 1 hour. Normally, what I'll do is I'll back out. Maybe go to the 4 hour. I might even go to the 1 day to see if I can find different patterns. And, it's just kind of the way technical analysis works. Sometimes you just need to back. So nothing wrong with that. All right, let's bring back my big head for a moment. Let's see. The rails are definitely something to watch this week. Yeah, I mean, I think the drama is mostly over, but looking at the fallout, looking at how we recover, I think that's going to be fantastic. I think that'll be fun to watch to a certain extent. Hopefully, the impact is not going to be super bad, but there will be some impact. It's not the best. It's not the best situation in the world, that's for sure. Abalash says, what do you think about Go Easy or Lightspeed right now? All right, so Go Easy. Let's bring up the thing. Oh, that's not what I wanted to bring up. This is what I wanted to bring up here. All right. So Go Easy, they're one of these people that they make their money from a lot of the like furniture stores and the little credit. Like if you want to buy a couch on a card or something, or with some kind of a financing plan. So they do make their money that way. Now, when money is tight, that does tend to work out well for them, and you guys will see. They have done, they've done okay in this little area. So when money is tight, sometimes people will be like, okay, maybe I can't afford a new couch, but I need one, so I'll do the buy now, no money down, so many payments or whatever. As we get some rate cuts, this is kind of what we're seeing right here. Some of these people are thinking, okay, well, the interest is going to come down, so maybe now is the time to, go down and get that, go down to Crazy Larry's and get that, get that futon that I want. Or there used to be, in the Maritimes, we used to have a place called Wacky Wheatley's. So that used to be one of the big ones. I think everybody has, a Wacky Wheatley, a Crazy Larry, or some other thing. Yeah, there we go. Jungle Eddie saying Leon's. Yeah, there's the Leon's for sure. All right. Oh, but what do I think about Go Easy? I think that's kind of that situation with Go Easy. Now, Lightspeed, let's take a look at them. I think it's LSPD. All right. So once again, they provide a lot of that software that's used basically, point of sale type machines. Now, one of the problems, like right now, that's just 5 days. Let's go to 1 year. So you can sort of see they've kind of been going sideways for a while. And as retail suffers, so will the side partners of retail. So I don't see, I mean, they should improve a little bit with rate cuts. I'm not really, what's the word? Excited. I'm not really excited about them right now. But all right, let's go back to the big screen here for a moment. We got a visitor. We got a visitor. All right, visitor, here you come. We've got Ian. How you doing, Ian?
It's Ian. It's me.
Hold on, Ian. I can't hear you, and I know why. All right, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
Hold on again. I can't hear you.
Oh, hold on, you're in the echo here.
All right, go ahead. There we go. I fixed it.
Am I good now?
Yeah, well, I had my mute on. And
Oh,
so if I have my mute on, then you don't come through my speakers.
that's all good.
And then I had to turn my mute off, plus turn my mute on the main screen as well. So,
Oh yeah.
it's one of these situations. I wasn't actually expecting to have guests today, but hey, I'm good with it.
Be on the internet either, but yeah, I'm working on my car right now. So
Nice. What type of car is that?
It's a really old car. It's a 1915 gray Dort. But it's
nice.
Custom. I put it, I customized obviously, but yeah.
Sort of looks like a little hot rod type car.
It is a hot rod. Yeah, I gotta close the door here. Yeah. Nice. I was gonna put it on. I was gonna bring it on. You had your live stream there for your celebration, but I thought, well, you guys are talking about stocks instead of messing around. So yeah. Anyway, I gotta do some welding on it right now, so I should probably let you go. But I don't want anyone to get gosh. But yeah.
Oh, you just wanted to jump in for a minute then?
Yeah. Well, I was out in the garage. I thought, I'll show you my car.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think it's very cool.
Thank you.
How much is that car worth? Like once you've restored it?
I have no idea. I have a bunch of cars, but I got an Escalade back here too. But it's just
okay.
Go to work.
Well, how many cars do you have in total?
I have 5 cars.
5.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah. I got a 57 Buick Special 2-door hardtop. I got an old pickup truck. I got another old Cadillac. So.
What's your favorite car?
I think I like my Buick the most. I've had it for the longest. I built it out of. I found it in the field back in 2009, and just put one piece at a time, put it back together. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'd show it out in front. So, yeah, this thing's fun.
Okay.
It goes pretty good. I took it down to the States and back a couple of years ago to a car show. So
nice.
I got to go to a car show at work though, so I'm trying to get it tuned up for.
Now, do you actually drive it to the car show, or do you haul it?
Oh no, I drive it. I drive it everywhere.
Okay.
It drives pretty good. I mean, there's no seatbelts or anything, so it's kind of scary, but yeah.
All right. Now, here's another question for you. What car don't you own that you want to own?
I don't know. I like old Cadillacs. I like old Dodges too. A lot of cars I'd like to own, but I won't. And another thing too is I just can't justify it. The ones I really like, I can't put $100 grand into buying a car. So, like this one,
Al is asking for you to show us the inside of the car.
Oh, in here? Yeah, I can show you here. I'm gonna try to turn my camera around. I'm gonna see if that works here.
Okay.
Settings, camera, back camera. Yeah, can you guys see me or no? Or see the car?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. I'm only seeing a sliver on mine, but I'll go back to. I can kind of. Yeah, this is the inside here. This is the key.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Made my own ignition.
It looks like a skeleton key.
It is a skeleton key. And this is the high beam, low beam switch. I put a lamp cord up here.
Okay.
There's a horn.
All right, hit the horn one more time. Just one more time.
There you go.
Nice.
Yeah, the floor is all wood, and I'm putting pedals in it. I don't know how many pedals. I just drive with a little rod here. So I'm putting pedals in today because make it look better for the car show. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
that is very cool.
Well, thank you. Anyway, yeah, okay. I should let you go now. Enough of this car talk, but.
Oh yeah, it's still nice. People, everybody loves putting a face to a name. So everybody, once again, this is the wonderful Ian.
Oh yeah, I'll turn the camera around again. Yeah, maybe next week I'll show my Buick.
Okay, sure, absolutely. You may have to remind me to drop the link. That's sort of like JJ does, because I get into a groove, right? And I'm like, what's going on? I just keep on going. So what can I say? All right. Now let's get caught up with the chat here. David says, what do you think of Nutrien Limited? Is it a buy for a dividend stock focused account? If you're a dividend focused, I don't think Nutrien is probably going to be the one for you. Let me 1 second here. I'm just going to, let's get my thing back up here. All right. NTR. So let's pull up Nutrient here. And we'll look here. I mean, they haven't been doing well for the longest time, but I do think that we're going to see them start to pull that back a little bit. But when you're looking at their yield, so you're looking at a 4.5%. So I mean, that's not a bad yield. It's not a bad yield at all. Also, keep in mind too that they pay in USD, so that 54 cents is probably closer to. Oh, it's probably closer to like 68 or so in that vicinity. So you do have a half decent. Now, that yield right now, so it's kind of like the banks. So the banks have higher yields because their price is down. So if you look at this 65, when they're normally up, almost, well, I wouldn't say double, but they're normally up around 100 to 110 in that area. That yield will be a little bit lower then. So it's not a bad stock. I mean, I would call it a good foundation stock. I would also call it a good total return stock, because once this starts to recover, and they will recover, I have no doubt about that. You may have a better entry point coming up because of that whole ammonia thing. So hopefully, but it boils down to, now, when you ask as an income focused investor, a lot of times the income focused investors are like, they're looking for those higher dividends. And in that case, this may not be high enough. But if you are looking, and this is what I think most income focused investors should probably have at least a small core of your foundation type stocks in the center of your portfolio. Things like this are fantastic. Things like the banks are fantastic, because you're going to get a moderate amount of dividends, plus you're going to get some growth on them. So is it a buy for a dividend stock focused account? It can be. It's probably not if you're a full income stock. Like if your goal is just to have a really, really big income, then you perhaps may pass on this. But if you're okay with having some moderate dividends, but also having that opportunity for some growth, I think this is not a bad stock. All right, Larry says, trying to sell my yield max Nvidia during the hype, hopefully without losing anything. Yes, that would be, and that's the thing, because the yield max, they're a synthetic covered call, meaning that they don't actually hold any Nvidia. So the reason things happen with this is that it's because of people being interested in that stock. So when you have a big hype moment like what's coming up, that's a really good opportunity for the stock to jump up in price. So it's definitely something that I think you do have a chance. I definitely think. All right, we got another guest. Let me lower this down. We'll bring in the wonderful JJ. How you doing, JJ?
I'm going good. Can you hear me properly?
I can hear you. Everything is all set up. Ian broke the
Awesome.
broke you in.
I know. I was so sad. I just realized that I missed Ian's presence. Too bad. That would have been the Three Musketeers together. Oh well.
I know. But what can you say? So how have you been?
I've been doing good. So I was actually working all day this morning, and great timing. When I finished, your live stream popped up. So I'm like, okay, let me wrap things up quickly. Get home. I pretty much drove very fast to get on here on time, and then was super sad that I missed Ian by like 2 or 3 minutes.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Well, that's not too shabby. I know I was working today too. So
What were you working on this week?
Sunday is pretty much my busiest day.
Uh-huh.
I film first thing in the morning for Tuesday's video, and then I go straight into the edit. So I basically filmed the video, and then I was editing up till about a half an hour before the stream started.
Wow.
Yeah, and especially where I went with a new format for the video.
I saw it looks super good. Like I feel like overall, in terms of the video quality is definitely much better than before. Everything is a bit more clear. And I did you change your background too?
Well, here's the thing. That was one change I made, but now actually tomorrow's video is filmed through this setup, through the live stream setup.
Mm-hmm.
So no green screen. It's going to have the Mountain Finance behind me, all of that fun stuff. You know, and we'll have to play a little bit. Now, I know I've got the settings down perfect for my normal camera. So now that I'm going through this way, I
Mm-hmm.
might have to play around with the settings a little bit, but I think they're exactly where I want them. If I have any complaint about this video is I think I had my energies a little bit a little bit less subdued. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I was as energetic as normal.
Oh
So
yeah.
I think part of it is when you're standing, it gives you a bit of a different vibe.
Mm-hmm.
So by doing it this way, I was sitting when I was doing it. So I think, yeah, I mean, I think the energy's fine. It's just that I think that, I don't know. It's hard to put my finger. You guys won't be able to tell me once you've seen it. But I did have the opportunity to start doing a little bit less editing and a little bit of different editing. So, you know how I normally have that slanted thing when I'm putting text up?
Mm-hmm.
I did away with it on this one, so I actually went with something different. So you'll see, you'll get to see for sure. I'm looking forward to it. So just kind of one of those things. I kind of thought that, I mean, I love the green screen because it's a green screen and green screens are cool. But at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, I sort of felt like as the channel matures, um, it's kind of time to be a little bit more like, in the office type thing, opposed to standing behind some, fake background that doesn't really exist. So I thought, yeah, let's just make it a little more real and see how that goes. So that's kind of the whole idea behind it.
I feel like that's a great idea because I remember my first video of you. Keep in mind, I think the YouTube algorithm was showing some of your past videos
Hmm.
with the green screen, and I remember the YouTube video quality was pretty much capped at 363. It was 360 or 480p, and the audio quality didn't really help because it sounded like kind of robotic.
Hmm.
So in terms of like the whole thing, uh, it sounded a it sounded a it sounded a bit jarry. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but the whole
Yeah,
thing was a
no.
little bit.
And that's,
It was
and
not
that's,
smooth in a way.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of these things. Like one of the biggest problems I had with sound is that I was actually, people were saying it's not loud enough. It's not loud enough. So I kept
Hmm.
making it louder. And the problem was that YouTube, it can only handle up to a certain volume.
Right.
And because I was over the volume, it was adjusting me down.
Hmm.
And that adjustment, which is what was kind of tanking my sound. So every time I
Okay.
tried it, people kept saying, "Oh, it needs to be a bit louder." I would turn it up and I actually would be making it worse. And it was kind of funny because I even at one point, I went and ordered this brand, excuse me. I went and ordered this whole brand new mic system that was like $1,000.
Whoa. Okay.
And it actually made it worse. So I was like, what's going on with that? So I ended up returning it because I mean, I'm like, and then finally I found a YouTube video, a sound video where somebody finally said, oh, by the way, if you go over these amount of decibels, YouTube can't handle it. And this is what it does. So now I have, I've got a little decibel thing. So I'm playing with that to make sure I don't go over it. Because then YouTube doesn't mess with the sound, which is good.
Do you know in the YouTube Creator Studio, you're allowed to like preview what you're showing, or do you only realize all of these audio and video sort of like bugs and fixes after it's been published?
Well, here's the funny thing. I would watch the video in Final Cut Pro. It looked perfect.
Hmm.
I would download it from Final Cut Pro to my desktop and I would watch it there and it looked perfect. And then it was the process of uploading it to YouTube that was crashing it. That was, taking it out of where it should be. And that was on me. Initially, I wasn't looking at it there. I was looking at it elsewhere.
Hmm.
But, that's the thing. It's one of those things. I always look at it this way. One of the things I say about YouTube is that your first 100 videos are going to suck. You have no choice to that. It's the whole learning thing. So I'm always looking forward to moving things forward. Now, part of the reason for this next change is I was watching some people saying that the algorithm is now starting to sort of favor simpler videos, with
Oh.
with a lot less of all of it's sort of like the opposite of the Mr. Beast type vibe where things are just going bang, 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 bang.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, well, let's give this a try. Let's give it a twirl. And it's kind of what I wanted to do, especially after I got the sign. I'm like, I got this sign. I kind of want it in the videos,
Mhm.
and I tried to do a reset up, but now I'm like, okay, so I mean, I got my nice camera down there, and if this all works, I probably won't even get to use it. At least I'll use it for some other stuff, or maybe doing some B-roll and stuff. But all of that fun stuff.
I think in terms of, I'll add to this. I think in terms of being simpler, in terms of transition and everything, I think it's a really good idea to test out because most of the time, people like to listen to these videos, during commute hours while they're
Mhm.
like basically doing something else. Either it's playing in the background or they're just listening to while you're speaking. So a lot of times it's really just played as a simple podcast, which means that
Yeah.
most of the time they're not really looking at the videos anyways. So as long as the audio quality is sound and you're doing like simple transitions, it probably will actually play to the YouTube algorithm better, since most of the
Yeah.
time people are just listening to these like when they're focusing on something else anyways. I think it's a good idea to test out.
Yeah. Well, exactly. Exactly. All right. We did have one question here. Mary wants to know if I'm still liking Hammond. So, whoops. There we go. So I do still like Hammond. So this here, we'll start with HPS.A. So Hammond Power Solutions. So here's the thing. We had this one big massive explosion, and then we had a correction. Now they're moving kind of sideways, but slowly upwards. So for me, I'm okay with that. I think that's fantastic. I still know there's a lot of demand for this company. So yeah, I am still bullish on this one. Now the other Hammond, let's just pull them up, HMM.A. And you're going to see kind of a similar movement that we had this whole big explosion. And now with them, they have come down a little bit. So right now, I'm still bullish on them. I know what they do. I know how well they work with the other Hammond. So if this continues to come down, I will be adding more to them because I do have a long-term I don't want to call it a love affair, but I really love this stock. So I'm still bullish. I'm still bullish on them. And I am, like I said, I am okay. Even if we got all the way down to $8, I would still be okay. I would be buying more, to be honest. I would be buying more for sure. So I'm happy with Hammond. I am very happy with Hammond. Do you have any Hammond, JJ?
I don't really actually. I remember from the last live stream, I remember you briefly asking everybody that was on the whole day live stream whether they do have any Hammond stocks, and I remember my answer from last time was I wasn't particularly interested in investing in
Mhm.
Canadian companies. However, now I feel like I would be tempted to add some to my portfolio just to, play around with some single stocks like on the side, because I am a little bit tempted in swing trading some of these holdings.
Mhm.
Still think about it. I think it could be a good play. What do you think? Do you usually hold them long term or do you like to swing them?
It depends. Like I have two different portfolios, right?
Hmm.
So I have the 0 to 100K, and that is mostly going to be long term for the most part. And then I also have an account that is just for making money. It's just a swing trading account.
Hmm.
So that swing trading account will, it's looking for the shorter movements. Kind of like, so for example, and Bismarck is saying what Bitcoin ETF is a good one for growth. Um, there's a couple of things. The thing about Bitcoin is that it's not the ETF that's really growing, it's the Bitcoin. So, what I usually will say is take a look at, well, don't go to purpose, like the purpose Bitcoin yield, because that
Hmm.
there you're going to cap off the top part. So, one of the things that you guys will see in the next 0 to 100K is I had the BTCY. Now, the reason I had it was Bitcoin was moving sideways for the most part. Coming up, coming down, a little bit of volatility, but it wasn't really at that point where we were getting a lot of big growth. So now that it looks like we're getting ready to finally see some of that growth from the halvening, I've moved out of that. I've moved over to BTCC.B. Now, there's a whole bunch of different ones. I always say, look at the, you can look at the management fees. Like some people will be like, well, if I'm going to get a spot Bitcoin ETF, I'll just get the one with the lowest management fee. And that's fine. So there is a video that I did recently in this last year on Bitcoin. And I do break down all of the different ones that are there, as well as the all of their management fees as well. So I would recommend just sort of checking that out. I think that will answer your question for you big time. I will see here if I can find it here.
I'll just add to, in terms of growth, you definitely want to go for something with lower fees because that will definitely eat into your returns a little bit. So I do second your opinion in terms of like just going for a simple spot ETF, Bitcoin ETF, like BTCC or BTCC.B. Speaking of which, I actually did sell off some of my BTCY from last time because I did have some holdings in both of my TFSA and taxable accounts. With regards to TFSA, I'm gonna leave where it is, but I did sell off my BTCY portion in my taxable account and swapped it for BTCC.B for more growth.
Absolutely. And Bismarcky, I just put a link to that video in the chat for you. So just a fun thing to do. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a follow-up question in terms of Hammond. If you had to pick one, HMM or HMM.A, which one would you pick for better performance looking forward in the next? It's going to be really hard to predict, but maybe in the next,
going to be hard to predict,
say,
but
year or so.
I kind of have two answers.
Okay.
So if you're looking for a little bit less volatility, and you're looking for a little bit more stability, then I would go with the power solution. So HPS.A.
Okay.
If you're looking for the one that has the potential to have the biggest growth, at this point, I would go with HMM.A. So I would consider look at it this way, HPS.A is the more conservative pick of the two.
Why is that the case? Are they more grounded or is there less global in terms of global outreach?
Well, they're older.
Okay.
And they've got they have a bigger moat, for example. So even though technically they're owned by the same people, they're still separate entities. So, and they also, look at this way, HMM.A is more of they're almost like an add-on if you think about it. Because when HPS comes in and says, okay, yeah, we're going to build these transformers and we're going to do this and that for you. They're like, now we need to have a company come in to build the holders for these things. And we have our other company, HMM.A, that makes perfect ones that that work perfectly with our stuff. So most companies are going to be like, oh, okay, sure. Yeah, let's do it. Because it makes sense. It's sort of like, if you're into Apple and you buy if you got a bunch of Apple products, you're probably going to buy more Apple products because they work well with the system. So sort of similar to that. So in a sense, that's one of the reasons that I think their future is kind of guaranteed. And both of them are moving into India. Like there's a big business for HPS.A in India, especially with India really focusing on infrastructure so that they can take advantage of the fact that a lot of people are moving their businesses, their manufacturing needs to India instead of China. So that's huge. That's really, really huge. And they're really poised. Like at this point, they're at the point where they're not even looking for clients because they have to turn away people. They can't handle everything that's coming at them. They can only, they've got a capacity to handle so much. So they're turning people away. They've got a big waiting list of clientele. That's a good place to be, if you ask me. All right. Now, Jungle was saying I was thinking about selling NVIDIA at 140 and then buying back during the pullback. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Like, let me
Always
name
take profits. Always take profits. It's not
it.
a bad
Never
idea.
hurts to take profits for sure. And if we go to NVIDIA down here, I do have NVIDIA here somewhere.
Nvidia.
And I know. Oh, it bugs me. All right. So this is, for those of you who are wondering, what are those extra lines? This was back here. I kind of sort of plotted where I think they're going to go. So I was predicting about 141 at the by Wednesday. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. This didn't help. This didn't help. And I'm probably going to be wrong, and I'm okay with that. But I do think we'll still be at, we'll definitely be at a nice selling point by then. And I also think we'll have a little bit of movement afterwards, but I'll be a little bit leery here. So my plan is I'm going to basically watch what happens at this point, and I'll probably be selling somewhere in this vicinity. It may not be at 145, but I'm okay with that. So this is kind of this thing that I am looking at now. I will tell you that Tuesday's video, we're looking at the new Harvest one stock ETFs.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah. So that's what we're looking at. And there is an NVIDIA one. There's an NVIDIA one there that I'm a little excited about it. It might be something that I move into. Because I'm still long-term bullish on NVIDIA right now. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
They have no competition. They really don't. Even though people say, "Oh, there's lots of chip companies," but they're not. They don't have that software.
They're not just chips. They're much bigger than that.
Well, they are. They've gone beyond. They basically taken chips and created new applications to do it. Like, for example, that started with crypto mining and now AI. Nobody's going to catch them, at least not anytime soon. So I am pretty bullish. And even if they have a longer retraction and they have a correction, that's just a great time to get back in, if anything else. Like, I do think, because kind of my goal is, I think eventually we will see a bit of a retraction. They'll probably come back down into the 120s, and that's a perfect time to get back in. So if you're one of these people who do sell up here in the 140s, sort of like what Jungle's thinking, then this will be when it's back down into the 120s, it'll be a great time to get back in, and then ride it up for the next time. And that sort of pulls into this that there will be a pullback eventually, for sure. Everybody has pullbacks. It is definitely important. Gold and silver predictions for when the market opens in half an hour. Well, now it's not half an hour. Now it's 15 minutes. So it's kind of interesting. So when we look at gold, let's see here. Where is my gold? Right here. So right now we're sort of sitting here. We're kind of waiting. I'm on silver. I'm like looking at her. I'm like, wait, what's wrong with these prices? Right now, as long as there is any kind of instability in the Middle East, these guys are still reacting to it. So I think both silver and gold, we're probably looking at green. How much? It's hard to say. It's really hard to say, but I do see some green action for these guys. They've had a good week, and I think they're going to have another good week. But the one WTI though, I am thinking WTI may have a sideways to a little bit down week coming up. But we'll see. We'll definitely see. I mean, that's the funny thing with commodities. There's so many factors that influence them. So they're very hard to sort of predict. And that's that. I mean, if they were easy to predict, everybody would be making a ton of money off of them too. So keep that in mind. All right. And Jungle saying there should be a bump after the earnings, but it will be too high. Then there will be an adjustment down. Yeah. And that's kind of what will happen. But keep in mind, going back to NVIDIA once again.
You can always put a limit order.
You could absolutely. You could do a limit order. You could put in a stop loss. So that's kind of that thing. Like when the video is going up, there we go. How did I get so? Let's just pull it down a little bit.
Whoa, the chart looks funky now.
It does that. It does that. So here's the thing. As you're riding up, the smart thing to do. So let's say we're up at 134. Well, put in a stop loss. So that way there, if it does start to do its reversal, you're not going to all of a sudden go on lunch and all of a sudden it corrected and it's down here. Stop losses make sense. They absolutely do, especially when you're riding something up. Because a lot of times when you're riding it up, you're thinking, oh gosh, how far, I'm going to get out. I'm just getting nervous. And you get out here and it continues and it keeps going up. But if you're using a stop loss and then you're adjusting it every so often, if your broker has like something called a trailing stop loss, that's even better. What I will say though with a stop loss is you can usually set a range on most stop losses. I don't know if you can in Wealthsimple. I know you can at National Bank.
You can't.
Okay.
I think those, because Wealthsimple is not really built for trading. So the maximum it has is like stop limit orders, but none of these trailing stop losses. It's too complicated for the typical DIY investor. Does National Bank have it? I'm assuming so, right?
With National Bank, I can do a range. So what I will do is I will trigger. Let's say I wanted to trigger it at. Well, we won't use this. We'll use some straight numbers. So if I had a stock that was $10 and it was going up, and I wanted to trigger it. So let's say if I put a stop loss, I'm thinking, okay, it's now up to $15. If it drops back down to let's say, I don't know, $14.50, I want to put in a stop loss. But I'll also put in a basically it's a limit. So it's not a limit, but it's like a range. So I might say, okay, I'll trigger it at $14.50, but it will only be valid up to $14.25. And what that does is, because when you hit that number, it means that you put it up for sale. But if nobody's buying it, it's not going to sell. And if it continues to fall and nobody buys, well, I don't want to sell it below $14.25. So that's where I create that bottom on that limit. So that way there, I'm only selling in that range. And if it jumps over that range, it won't sell it that way too. Because sometimes you can have a situation where things drop really fast and it kind of gaps over your stop loss. So in a case like that, now if you're using a stop loss for if you're trading and you're absolutely don't want, you want to sell it no matter what, if it drops below a certain amount, well, then you would just make a bigger range in that case. So, it's kind of it's an interesting thing, but I think, like I said, well, like JJ said, Wealthsimple doesn't seem to have it. So
it's not built for trading. That's for sure.
Wealthsimple.
I mean, it's not. It's the thing is, it's not really like the average person won't really do any trading movements. They're just buying in and out, like on an average, maybe once or twice in a bit. So it's not really built for those tools at the moment. However, moving forward, I feel like they could add it, but then again, they could also but the thing is, they will probably advocate to the bigger portion of people who are more so looking at adding self-managed RESPs, joint RSPs, those kinds of things. They would cater towards those first because they are more favorable, rather than catering to the smaller niche groups who are using these kind of more technical tools. So those would probably happen much faster than this.
Makes sense. All right. Kawachin wants to know, what do I think about ATD at the moment? So we're pulling up the charts here. Now, I did get out, but it wasn't because at that time I had no idea about the whole 7-Eleven thing. But it wasn't that I got out because I was worried about what could happen in the future. And, if that 7-Eleven were to happen, I would definitely get out for that reason and get back in afterwards. But mind you, they're still moving. Other than the fact they had this big correction, they're slowly regaining it back. They got a little bit more of a correction here. I still think it's a good company. I still think long term they're going to do fine. But this is the type of company that come in with some caution. Just pay attention to the news on whether that 7-Eleven thing actually does happen. And then sort of make your decisions on what you want to do at that time. But for now, I do think they're going to be, I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to be fine long term. But and it's interesting. They used to actually be one of my favorite stocks too. It's not that they're, I don't want to say they're not my favorite, but I'm just sort of paying attention to the news. I'm paying attention to the news. And even if they don't get the 7-Eleven, the fact is they're still looking to expand. They still want to grow and they're in that mode. So you want to pay attention to whatever's going to be next, just to sort of keep that in mind. All right. Patricia says, I bought a share of NVIDIA. When they split, we'll add more eventually. Yeah, absolutely. What do you think about Tesla now? Okay, well, that wasn't meant to be funny, but
I can't. I'm sorry, I can't help it. Tesla is Tesla.
Funny about Tesla.
I mean, Tesla is always going to be Tesla, in terms of
They
its pricing.
are. And we'll pull Tesla up here and take a look. Now they've had their issues. They haven't had the best year, but they are slowly everybody got really excited when it moved back up here, and then even more excited over here. But they're starting to move down a little bit. But I look at this way with Tesla. Every time we count Tesla out, they always come back. And that's been a history. And there's a lot of things, especially if they're sort of their self-driving taxis, if those actually work well, then yeah, that could be a big shot in the arm for Tesla. So nothing too shabby about them. I'm still bullish. I'm still bullish overall long-term on Tesla. All right, what is a trailing stop loss? Very, very, very simple. Of course, I don't have my whiteboard anymore. Apparently, this new one that I found, this Google Jamboard, apparently once we hit October, they're no longer going to be a thing.
Oh, that sucks. Wait, is it actually useful though?
I liked it. I did like it. Well, I'll pull it up right now. I don't know why mine disappeared, but let's pull it up. Here we go. Here's our Jamboard. All right, there's what we were looking at before. So let me clear that for you. Clear the frame. That's what I love about the Jamboard is I can just click one button to make everything go away. The other board I was having to erase. So in a nutshell, I'm gonna draw here. Oh, let's go with blue. All right, so stocks generally, they have their way of going up. So when you're having a good stock day and you got your stock going up like this, I'm just going to do the whole thing. All right. We'll come up here, up here, and that'll be our big crash. So you're coming in early on this, and you're actually investing into the thing. And I will change the color to red. So you're going to buy in. Let's say you bought in right here at the bottom. So you bought in here, and that you want to sell it eventually because eventually it's going to correct because it's going crazy up. So what you would do with a trailing stop loss is the way it would work is, let's say you bought in at, and we'll put right here 10. There we go, 10. So you would set up your trailing stop loss. We'll just say TSL, not Tesla, but TSL. So you bought
You're
it
missing
at
a
10,
Y.
and you'd put a trailing stop loss. We'll say you put it in at 9. We'll just say 9. So if it fell down to $9, because we'll just say this thing's moving big time. So if it fell down to $9, what would happen is you would sell. All right. So all of a sudden, as we hit here, as you know, we're up 1 point. We're at 11. So now what happens is that 9 moves up automatically to 10. So if it fell back to 10, it would sell. So let's say it jumped up here to, there's 11, there's 12, here's 13. If it jumped up to 13, you know, what would happen is that trailing stop loss will basically turn itself to 12. So you set up what that gap is between it, and it will follow it up. Now, so that's 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Up here is 19. So at 19 is when it decides to have some problems. So when you got to 19, we'll put it here, the trailing stop loss has moved up to 18. So all of a sudden it falls and you're off having a sandwich. So you're off having a sandwich. And once it falls to 18 right here on the way down, you basically, the trail, this here fires and you sell. SEL, there we go. And you sell. So it basically is a way for protection. Not all brokers have it. Like National Bank Direct Brokerage does not have it. But the only one I know of 100% that has it is I know Desjardins has it. I almost switched to Desjardins because I wanted that trailing stop loss, but I found that their brokerage was very overcomplicated. There were just so many things you had to click, so I couldn't move fast because I had to click on so many things to make sales. So it wasn't very good for trading, especially if you were trading quickly. So that's what a trailing stop loss is. So what you have to do, now, if you want to do this and you don't have it, so kind of like me, I don't have it, I have to manually go in. So as it went from 10 to 11, I have to manually go in and edit my stop loss and move that up to 10. Same idea here, same idea here. So I can still do it, but I can't do it automatically. I have to manually do it. So that's kind of the way that works right now. And I'm okay with that because normally when I'm trading, I'm here at the computer anyway. So it's not like, it's not like I'm out playing Frisbee with a cat. Does anybody even play Frisbee with cats? I don't know.
It's possible.
Maybe.
Don't count that out.
Maybe. All right. I'm going to skip all the stuff that you just typed in here.
Yeah, I gave I posted a huge comment just to basically explain what you did. But except for the fact that YouTube broke it up into really weird chunks. So I tried again. It's not even in the correct order of how I broke up the comment. So I basically wrote up 3 smaller comments, basically to explain what you did, what you just wrote.
Yeah,
absolutely. Hopefully it makes some sense. Yeah. Oh, wait, actually, when we were talking about NVIDIA, with regards to the new Harvest high income shares, do you think, here comes a little bit of speculation. Do you think that the NVIDIA shares tied to either the Canadian US dollars, whether leveraged or non-leveraged, would perform better in a more volatile market?
I think when you're dealing with volatility, with the share, there's going to be upside loss. There's no way around it. And that's one of the issues with NVIDIA. You kind of have to accept it. So for example, I'll just show you guys here. Let's bring back the board again. We'll clear the frame. So NVIDIA, I'm going to do a very, very, very simple thing here. Just give me a second. We'll go with a green, but when I'm going to make it nice and thick. Let's go. So blah, blah, blah. Let's just say this is NVIDIA over time. So the way it works is when you're doing options. So let's say, for example, you got the guys at NVIDIA. They're coming in. We'll just say we're back here in time. So they're going to do an option right here. So they're writing an option. So they're doing something called a long. All right. So it's a contract. So basically, it would be like you have X numbers of shares. So it might be 1,000 shares. So we'll say, all right, they have 1,000 shares that they're willing to sell at, let's say, $140. Okay, now, if you want to take this deal, you're going to have to pay a premium. There's a fee. And let's say that fee is $100. So let's say you pay $100 and you get this deal. I'm just making these numbers up out of the top of my head. Okay.
How
So we're
how
gonna
out
say
of
that-
how out of the money is that call?
what's that?
How out of the money is that call? Oh man, or in.
I know. All right. So this line, the dotted line, that's your strike price. So that there is at 140. So this person who buys this, what ends up happening is if NVIDIA, we'll do two different patterns here. We'll do a yellow pattern. So let's say NVIDIA from here comes up like this, comes over like this, comes over like this, comes over like this, goes like this, goes like this, goes like this. All right. Now, here's the other thing about this is that there's a time limit on it. So for example, let's say it's 1 week. All right. So if in 1 week we've been doing this and we don't hit that line, well, this person doesn't get to buy it. They've just lost $100 that comes into our fund. So bang, and it's probably higher than $100, but I'm just using this as an example because you're not even dealing with 1,000 shares. You're going to be dealing with a lot. Like it could be $100 per 1,000, but maybe you're trading 10,000 shares, something like that. But that money will then come back into here. Now, here's the downside. This is where that potential that I mentioned, the upside potential comes in. So let's say instead, we'll use, I wish I had more colors in this. I already used red. Let's use blue. So let's say instead, from here, whoops, it goes up high. Whoops, I better use the thicker one. Let's go back to the thick one. So let's say, for example, instead it comes up this way, and it crosses over and keeps going. Well, what happens is at that 1 week point, because they have the right for 1 week. So let's say that 1 week is right here. We'll just draw some more dotted lines here. What happens is that all of a sudden these shares are now worth, let's just say that that's 150. So these shares are worth 150, but you have to sell all of them to them for $140. So they're making a $10 profit per share. And if it's 1,000 shares, that's a lot of money they've just made. So, and what ends up happening for you is, yeah, you know what? You're still fine because, you got your premium and everything, but in that process right there, you've lost that upside because you're now going to have to rebuy. And we'll put in that red dot. Maybe you'll rebuy up here at 150, but you've now lost 10. You've lost a whole 10 units right there, and you'll do the whole thing over again. So ideally, when you're writing these longs, your goal is to never cross that line in whatever your time frame is. So that's what you're betting on. If you do, you at least do get that premium, so that's great. Every time every time you don't have to sell it, then that's super fantastic because you're getting the premium and you get to keep your stocks. You don't have to sell them because they're now a higher amount. So that's what they're doing. That's what these covered calls are doing. When things are going down, they're doing kind of the opposite, but they're doing something called shorting, which is when it's going in the opposite direction. So they're playing the way the stock market's moving. They're making bets. And these bets, anybody who takes their bets has to pay to take it, and you get to keep that money. And that money alone is what pushes those dividends up. So, and there are some situations, interestingly enough, where you hit the strike price, but maybe you don't go very high above it. And the person who owns the contract just decides to not do it. That does happen, amazingly enough. Now, sometimes it might be a situation where, let's say, for example, you've
Tesla.
just gotten above it, but you're expecting things to start going back down again. Maybe they're like, I don't know if I can flip these. I'm just going to leave it be. I think I'll just take my loss and run. Sometimes that happens. Not often, but sometimes. So it's just the way that covered calls work, and that sort of boils into everything. All right.
Wait, but I'm not sure if you actually answered my question. I was more so speculating on the fact that whether it would be like in terms of like the volatility and upside potential would be better if, say, for example, we bought like the high income shares of Nvidia in either the Canadian US dollar. That was it's a great lesson. This is a great
Yeah.
lesson on the base of cover calls. But then here's where the speculation comes in, basically, whether you would perform better if it was basically hedged the Canadian US dollar.
In that case, there, what you want to do is you want to be paying attention to money markets. So, for example, if the US dollar is tanking, then that could certainly have an impact on whether or not you're going to do well. So it's kind of that interesting thing. Like when everything is equal, they should be doing pretty similar. So there shouldn't be that much of a difference. And it really shouldn't, because you also got to look at too. This is the beautiful part about it, is that the actual conversion of it. Whoops, let me pull this over. Let me clear the frame. So when you're looking
I should have taken a screenshot on that. I should have pinned that comment in Discord.
Oh no.
And like we should have one just like, oh, the basics of options, and just put that as a pinned comment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think once you hit clear frame too, I don't know. Let me see here.
You can I think you can add another frame, no?
I think you can, yeah. Oh well, I cleared it, but
there's an
you
undo
have to
button.
look at it this way too. So when you have two, so this is going to be your US. This is going to be your Canadian. So one of the things is when you have that thing, so when you're looking at investing it in the US, once you've invested in it, it stays in that bubble. So it doesn't really leave that bubble. The only thing that ever really happens is that when you initially invest, there's obviously going to be a money conversion of sorts, even though it's not really something that you think about. There is a money conversion because you're putting Canadian into US. But once it's there, it stays there. So it is here. So you're doing all of your, I'll just put my little thing here. So you're basically playing the market on the US. It doesn't matter at this point. I know I said about money markets. Forget about that, because I thought about it for a second. I'm like, no, wait a minute. It doesn't really come into any kind of, it's almost like there's a wall between them, because when you're on the Canadian side, whatever the Canadian is doing, that's going to be. So NVIDIA, and here's the thing, NVIDIA is going to do the same thing for both of these, if they're both NVIDIA. What you might run into though is, and this is where I guess the money market part comes in, is if the Canadian dollar is falling, so the CAD, it's still going to do the same direction, but you could have a slight small impact to it. And it's the same idea with the US dollar if it's falling. But the thing is that relativity wise, it's still going to be the same. Even if the US dollar is going down or the US dollar is going up, it's not going to matter as much. So just something to sort of keep in mind when it comes to this. I probably should have one going up here on this side too. So you've got a little bit of relativity here, but they are kind of in their own little circles. So I will tell you, when I did this video for Tuesday, I just gave the Canadian stats, because the American stats should fall in line for each of these. So, I'm pretty confident that you're not going to have too much of a difference. The only thing I would say is, now it depends though as well. Like, I'll give you a great example when it comes to trading. So if you're not planning, if you're not in here for the dividends and you're more or less looking to play some small term trades, well, then the currency starts to come into impact a little bit, because here's what I say is, if I was trading, let's say I was swing trading NVIDIA, I would go with the US one because NVIDIA's priced in US. Then I could use NVIDIA. I could use the NVIDIA chart to sort of help me determine what this ETF is going to do. And I could also use the NVIDIA chart as things change quickly, um, I might have seconds to be able to make some trades here that over here I may not have been able to have right away. So it's kind of just the way that currency conversion hits. So for example, with when I'm doing swing trading with Bitcoin, I like to use the one peg to the US dollar, because then I don't have to worry about what's happening between the Canadian and US dollar. I can ignore them completely and only pay attention to the price of Bitcoin. And that will help guide me with the moves that I'm making. Now, you don't have to do that. Like, I'm probably being a little bit really strict on that. You can certainly look at the Canadian side and it's still going to move. But there could be that tiny little bit that comes in there from currency conversion and from the way the money markets are working. So just something to keep in mind. Whew.
Yeah, you answered there pretty well. I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, like this all, I guess, this really all depends on the strength of the U.S. versus Canadian dollars and how well it performs in the next little bit. So, yeah. But I mean, if you would pick one from basically the four between Nvidia, Microsoft, Amazon, and Eli Lilly so far in Harvest, which of the four and which Canadian your US or leverage versus non-leverage would you go for if your time horizon, say for example, you're not just holding and you're looking to come in and out on on a smaller on a smaller scale from now until maybe 2 months out or something.
So what I would do is I would probably go with Nvidia, because you're going to have continued hype waves with Nvidia, sorry. You can just keep on riding it up. So to me, I like that idea. I like that idea that I can ride it up. I can get in, I can get out, I can make some quick profits, get back in, make more profits. To me, that's fantastic. I love that idea. So that's kind of the way I would go with that. Now, if I was looking for a more longer term, I would probably fall into something a little bit more safer, probably Microsoft.
Good point.
Yeah, because Microsoft I know is going to be fantastic. So that's kind of an interesting thing.
Would you take
All
on the
right.
25% leverage or keep it non-leveraged for the growth and Microsoft?
I would probably. I have no problem with going with the leverage. Yes, you're going to lose more going down, but you're also gaining more going up. And if you're long term, like if you're holding it long term and you're planning to hold it anyway, it's going to be up in the future. So any that you do lose going down, you're going to gain it back when you come back up. But at the same time, and here's this other thing too, and this is kind of where I put it in, is if I'm looking at a long-term investment at the same time, I don't know if I wouldn't just go with Microsoft, directly, just because, if anytime Microsoft has like, let's say they have a great earnings call and they have that big fly up, well, I'm going to lose that with the ETF, because I'm going to, it's the capped potential. It's going to get me.
Yeah.
So I would probably go that way. So just something to keep in mind. But it's kind of like, and I haven't talked about RMAX yet today.
Well, now you have.
Now I have. It's like RMAX. Like, I really love what they have in that portfolio, and I'm not even there for, like, I don't care about the dividends, to be honest. I don't care about them. I mean, yeah, they're nice, but I don't care about them. If I had that exact same, like if they had an ETF with that exact same breakdown that was non-cover call, I'd be all over it, because then I don't have to worry about any kind of capped potential. So it is one of those things. I guess it sort of works.
I think Emerald from Middlefield is doing something like that. I think the overall breakdown is probably not exactly the same, but if from what I checked last time, they are doing I think a 60-40 Canada versus US, but probably
Yeah.
not technically the same REITs inside. But that is non-covered calls, and it's probably something for now that could be a sort of suitable alternative to look at.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I'll definitely take a look at them a little bit more.
Yeah,
then.
ticker MREL. I'll just write it down in the chat if anybody else is interested.
There we go. Or we can even bring it up. Do. All right, here we go. So this is your middle field real estate dividend ETF. All right, well, let's take a gander here. Let's look at the last year. You can sort of see it is doing a very similar climb. So I definitely like the looks of that. And that makes sense because this is, right around here is when, it's not that they started. Actually, the first one, we had one in June. So June going up, they've been doing well. So I'm liking that sense here. And let's take a look here. That's not really breaking it down here, but you go to their webpage and their webpage will break that down. So you're once again, and even this one, you're still getting a pretty good dividend. Like you're still getting 7%. So
it's pretty high.
That's not too shabby. Not too shabby. So yeah, I would definitely go. Well, let me just let's see. Let's go to there. We got a computer. We can do it. We have the technology. We'll go over here. We'll just go to Google. All right. Yeah. Yeah, you can use my current location. I'm okay.
Okay, yeah. So I was just looking on their fund sheet. There's 74% in Canada and 22% in the US, plus
Okay.
4% international.
All right. Well, that makes sense. But yeah, see, this is one of these places. I always say you're going to find a lot of your information over here. Everything from their fact sheet, which is always a good place to start. So you're going to see their yield. They've been around since 2011. That I love because that shows that they've been through it all. Let's see, 0.75% management fee. I'm okay with that if they're well managed. But here's the geographic. So 74% Canada, 21% US. Look at that, RioCan up there at the top. They got RioCan, Boardwalk, InterRent. There's Chartwell, one of the retirement folks. So not too bad, not too shabby at all. So yeah, I like this. This looks like a good company. Definitely looks like a good company. So definitely something worth getting in. Let's see. All right, just seeing where we are at in the chat. We got a whole bunch of things. All right. Let's see. Have you looked at the screener at National Bank? Is there a way to sort by companies that have amazing long-term cadgers? I've never really used their screener. One of my favorite screeners is actually the TradingView one, but I have not looked at theirs. But I'll take a gander. I'll play with it this week here. And here I'm going to. I just actually hit my button to. You can't see it, but I just took a screenshot of your.
Yeah,
comment.
you're not really sharing anything right now. You're still stuck on the middle field prospectus at the moment.
Oh yeah, no, it's there. That's fine.
Okay.
No, I was just mentioning. I just took a screenshot of a question there, so I remember to head over and play with the National Bank screener a little bit and see if I can get you some information on that. Right now, I just don't know. All right. Prairie says, if speculating that NVIDIA is going to go up on Wednesday's earnings call, which would be better for a play on the stock, CDR or one of the single stock ETFs? The CDR would be better because keep in mind, these single stock ETFs, they will cap you a little bit on your way up. So if it goes up really big, you may not get all of that growth. Whereas with the CDR, you're going to get 100% of it. So yeah, the CDR would be a better play if you're looking to just make money on it. Okay.
What about in terms of liquidity, though? Oh, sorry. Yeah, that was just like a follow-up question of what you thought about that, Candace. If you want to get in and out like quickly, which would have like greater volume versus like price tracking?
Well, it boils down to, um, for one, it comes down to how much you're investing. So if you're investing, then you're going to be using a much bigger volume, of course. So that would then certainly become into play. Like if you were going to buy, let's say, if you're putting like, I would say, let's say you're putting $100,000 into it, I would probably not go the CDR in that case. Heck, if I had that amount, I would play NVIDIA directly. Why wouldn't I? Just, because you've got that volume on there. CDRs do have smaller volumes. Now, if you're doing, even 10,000, you're fine on a CDR. Like the volume will be able to support you without too much of an issue. And mind you, depending on what your exit strategy is, I don't think it's going to be a situation where it's going to like turn on a dime the second after it opens on Thursday morning. Chances are it's going to still drift up a little bit. And if you're not greedy, and you shouldn't have any problems getting out with a CDR. All right, let's see here. We got more stuff. Okay, Prairie is talking. Al's talking. All right. Oh, we're all caught up. That's fantastic. All right. Now, this has been another good show. I love this. I love this group. You guys are all fantastic. Let me just bring us back to our big heads here. All right. So, guys, if you get your final questions, this is the time to drop them into chat. So that way there, maybe you got final questions for JJ.
Actually, there is something I wanted to bring up. This was actually, I was actually thinking about this when you mentioned the, I remember on the Friday live, you were saying that moving forward, you might be doing like a kind of like a sponsor-based video moving forward. But then here's something that could be done for the 5,000 subscriber series, subscriber video. Maybe, and maybe for that video, it could be a live stream with one of the portfolio managers, and then have all of us either chime in on the live and ask like live questions to them directly as well. What do you think about that? That could be very informational.
Oh, I think that's a good idea. It's just a matter of talking one of them into it. That's where it sort of boils down to. Like they're pretty. Like I think I could probably have like I've actually had I've had a few reach out that wanted to do like an interview, but they were for sort of lesser ETF type companies, and I'm like, I don't know, I don't think I want to do you. I haven't even looked at one of your ETFs, so I get a lot of that.
Oh yeah, has anyone in particular in Canada or the US that's already reached out to you for that?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what their name of their thing was. I probably have already deleted it, but let me just take. I'm going to take a quick gander in here and see if I still have anything from them. I'm very fast in my thing to delete stuff. Yeah, I don't have any now. I'll let you know next week because I'll get more of them. I'll get more of them this week. But I'm trying to think of the name of it. Oh. I think it starts with a D, but I'm not sure.
Defiance?
You know what? I think you're right.
Actually?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's the Defiance, some kind of Defiance thing. I'm like, I haven't even looked at your stuff yet. So it hasn't even come across my radar. So that's kind of the feeling that I had there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was Defiance now. Yeah. That was good. It's like we planned it almost.
I mean, the thing is, there aren't that many like portfolio managers that start with a D. I mean, that was the first name that popped up, especially since I do follow like Defiance's volumes and their stocks, that what they do. And to tell you the truth, their ginormous yields don't really make up for the very minimal total returns, and not that impressed of what they've put out. However, they are catering to the very small, let's put it, retirees that, okay,
Mhm.
maybe not even retirees. I guess the fire seeking folks that are seeking too high yield but are sacrificing a lot of potential returns.
Yeah,
So in terms of that,
absolutely.
it's
Yeah. No, I mean,
it's not great. Let's put it that way. Yeah.
I do get that. I have a pretty solid amount of income investors in the community, and it's just a situation where I've got my eyes on a few things that I'm thinking that I would like to do some interviews with, but that wasn't one of them. Not yet. Not yet, anyway. But
Because I was
yeah.
thinking, oh, maybe we can have, and maybe one or like two or three of us even doing like a live Q&A session with the portfolio manager. That would be something very awesome to look at, if
Mhm.
if possible, because that could be a
Yeah.
very interesting thing to do.
Well, that's the thing. If it does boil down to what we can do, what's possible, all that fun stuff. So, I just look at, we're growing right now, and
Hmm.
one of the things I've been very sort of careful of is not losing our not doing things like scammy type sponsorships and things like that. I've been very careful trying to keep the integrity of the channel intact, so to speak. So, there's definitely be some. So the whole idea, and I'll mention this once again. So the whole idea of a
Hmm.
sponsored video, like basically a subscriber sponsored, that the idea of that was just to give people a way to get that one stock they want deep dived. That just for whatever reason can't win the vote, because that happens. That happens a lot. All of those people who love HDiv understand that. And sometimes I'll see them over and over again in the comments. I'm voting again for it, but it feels like I'm hitting my head against a wall. And I feel bad. I'm like, because it's a situation where since I democratized the whole thing, it's not like I can just sort of pull it back and say, yeah, I'm going to give this person a special treatment or that person a special treatment. So that's a general idea. And like I said, I'm still kind of working that out. We'll see if it gets out in September or not. If it does happen in September, um, we'll have to figure out how it's going to work. Probably as early as next week, actually, because next week
Maybe,
we're in September in a week. So
I know, right? Oh my god, time is going by super fast.
it really is. It's going by faster than I thought.
Like,
Because today is
like we're in the last quartile of 2024. Like, I mean, I don't know about you, but I do still remember the Christmas live stream that you did like not too long ago. I still remember it. Like, it was not
really.
it didn't feel like it was that long ago, but like now
Ah,
it's in 3 months, 3 to 4 months again, and it's almost Christmas again.
right. But you got to keep in mind, I do so many of these live streams
Hmm.
that um, I'm lucky if I can remember the one from from a while, like from 3 months ago. I'm like, what happened in that one? But yeah, I remember. I mean, I don't remember a thing on the Christmas live stream.
There is one thing I do remember from that in particular. I think Chad and I were going back and forth, just bickering to one another about something random, and then I quickly mentioned that, part of my gains was from having uh I can't say this on YouTube, but some like an you'll probably it's you can't really say it on YouTube, but it's like OF account. Let's put it that way. So
Right, right,
that's
okay.
one thing I do remember from that live stream.
Oh dear,
Yeah,
yeah, it happened.
as a joke. It was supposed to be a joke. It's supposed to be funny. I don't know, but I just something I do remember from that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there we go. Lisa's liking the fact that there's a guest on. So
Yay!
gotta like that. Gotta like that. All right. Let's see. Do you think CS and DRX are still a good buy? Yeah. So I'll tell you, it's getting harder. It's getting harder with DRX. Let me pull this up and I'll show you why. Because I still like the company a lot, and but boy, ever since I bought them, they've been so this is ADF Group or Drax Group. You can call them Drax Group as well. Some it's funny, National Bank calls them Drax Group, but yeah, I bought somewheres in here, and they've been kind of sloping down a little bit. I do like the company. I do think that they are going to bounce back, but I kind of look at it this way. I'm in a point with this one where I'm kind of like it's more of a dollar cost averaging down situation. I do think that they're a good company. I do think that they offer solid service, and I do think that they will recover. So I'm okay with them completely. CS. Let's take a look at CS here. Okay, CS. Capstone? Or were you meaning CES? Because I think from that video we were actually looking at CES Energy. Yeah, that's the one that, because I believe I saw your comment on there. So CES Energy. Once again, this one's a kind of a no-brainer. They've just been doing fantastic. They have been climbing like crazy. So yeah, I'm still bullish on this one as well. So even right now,
Oh, Candace, if you're not sharing your screen right now, so if you did want to share
oh,
the stock chart, yeah,
there we go.
just want to bring that up before you go too far.
Yeah, well, I went through the whole DRX one without, but yeah, no, they've been doing fantastic. I mean, look at this, and even this little bit of a kind of a small correction, that's fine. I think this is going to be a company that they look to be positioned well for the future. So I am liking these, and I'll go back to DRX again, just because. Whoops, here we go. Just because you kind of missed out there. So with DRX, like I said, I'm still keen on the future. I'm looking at this like it's not like a oh god we need a parachute type fall. It's a mild fall, and if you are like me and you got in up here in the 16s, then this is a great opportunity for dollar cost averaging just to lower that adjusted cost base. But I do think they will do fine. I think they'll be absolutely okay long term. So you have to always keep in mind what your time frame is on any one of these companies, because if your time frame is I want it to be up next week, well, then these are probably not the type of companies you want to look at. So I always look at it that way. All right. Thoughts: HDiv versus RMAX for long term. Well, you do know I'm pretty bullish on RMAX, but HDiv is not a bad ETF.
I would just say that if you don't want to basically look at RMAX's like prices like day in and day out, HDiv would probably be a better all-in-one that you can have a better peace of mind. But however, with more sector specifics, you do have to keep track of its performance and like maybe not daily, but definitely on a weekly basis. So there's that. However, I guess you can also play the passive game if you do want, but in terms of like being super sector specific, that's a little bit too risky, especially since the long-term performance on RE specifically, it's a little speculative. What do you think of that, Candace? Like,
Yeah,
is that a good judgment?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, with RMAX, I'm planning to ride it up as long as the rate cuts are coming. And then when the rate cuts finally stop, when we're finally at the end of the rate cutting cycle, it'll probably take about 6 months before it will completely start leveling out. That's probably when I'm going to be looking to get out. Something like HDiv. I mean, I think this will continue to go up. I mean, yeah, they've struggled in the past. They haven't been doing great yet, but we are starting to see some movement up. I think if you were looking out for a longer scale than like beyond the rate cuts, then yeah, this could be a stock for you. So definitely something to keep in. Did I hear RMAX isn't good for cash accounts? It is covered call. So there is that potential for return on capital. Plus, you are looking at dealing with tax on dividends and things like that. So, if at all possible, I would recommend RMAX for a registered account.
Yeah,
James,
always fill in your registered accounts first. But if you don't really have a choice, then go with taxable. It's always better to not get taxed at all if you have a choice.
yeah, absolutely. What do you think of BDC? At first, I saw it and I was like, I was thinking BDT, so I was thinking of bird construction. But
I know you're super bullish on bird construction still, Candace. We
no,
know
I
it.
am. I love bird construction. Um, BDC. I don't know why it's not coming up here. Let's see here.
They're not its ticker specifically. They're a sector.
Mm.
Yeah. I think James means business development companies in general. So I think there's a bunch. Yeah. So there's no specific ticker that you can actually look at.
That makes sense. As soon as I see 3 letters, and I'm always looking for that ticker. Business development. I think they're okay. They're not, to me, they're not a sector that is going to benefit huge when it comes to rate cuts. So they're definitely, I think they will still move. Like I'm still thinking that we are moving into a stronger bull market as we move forward, despite the fact that a lot of people are very quick to yell recession. GBDC.
Okay, it makes sense.
All right, that makes even more sense. GDBC. Here we go.
GBDC.
Oh, GBDC. Here we go. Golub Capital. Okay. Let me see here. This is the first time I've heard of these guys. So I will look at them and sort of gauge on what I can see. So we're just starting off on the 3-year. They struggled. The whole market was struggling in this area. So that doesn't concern me too much. I do see a little bit of a buildup here. And then they've faltered a bit again. All right, so cool. Let me see what they do first of all. Obviously, I'm thinking, well, capital. Let's see, closed-end, non-diversified management investment company. So let's see, they invest in senior secured and one-stop loans. Okay.
Ooh, this sounds risky.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of risk involved in this. You're looking at a sector right now that is stressed with, people who are, there's a lot of debt rolling around, even in the US at this point. So definitely something to keep in mind here. Now, just to sort of put this into perspective, let's just jump in here for a second. I am expecting, actually, I thought it would be higher than this, 120% on their debt to equity ratio. Return on equity, that's not that bad because they're kind of financial. At least the return on assets. I'd love to see the debt to equity a little bit higher, but there is a little bit of risk in there. Like I think they'll probably do okay, but you want to watch them. You definitely want to watch them for sure.
Do they? I think I missed this. Do they hand out loans to these debt management companies too, or what do they do specifically?
Well, I think they actually invest in the companies that hand out the loans.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. So they're kind of, looking at it that way. Now,
kind of like the big brother in a way.
Yeah. Sometimes it can work. Like you take, Timber Creek Financial. They don't own properties. That's why they're not technically a REIT, even though I call them REIT adjacent. But they own a lot of the companies that hold all of the mortgages. So they kind of invest in mortgages, which is fine. Excuse me. All right. You guys keep on piling in the questions. Prairie State.
Hell yeah.
I know. I was thinking more from a growth standpoint, considering that HDIV currently holds. Yeah. No, I guess I understand. If you're thinking long-term growth, then HDIV is probably your better play. I would definitely say that. Let's see. And that's from JJ. JJ, you can just talk,
Or you were talking, so I was basically monitoring the chat while you were talking, so I don't want to interrupt your thought process.
We're talking about the RMAX ETF, not Remax. Let's see, uranium up big today. Ooh, that's good. I do like uranium. I especially see as we start getting into some of these modular nuclear power options, I think that'll be big for uranium. So that's nice to see. That's nice to see. All right. Let's see. Quarterly earnings growth, huge negative. Okay, I'm not sure. I think that might have been part of a conversation I kind of missed out on. Ryokan is up. There we go. Perfect. All right, guys. Well, it's been fun.
It sure
You know what?
has.
We've been going 2 hours and 40 minutes. So huge thank you to our guests, both JJ and Ian. Ian was here briefly with his car. So that was fantastic. We'll be back here again next week, guys.
Before I
We'll
end
do it
this,
all-
before I
What's
end
that?
this, now that the channel is growing more, maybe it's time to think about adding assistants. Think about it that way.
Adding
Start outsourcing.
assistants.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have
Putting
to see.
myself out there.
Well, yes, I know. You're ambitious. You're very ambitious.
I am.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk. We'll talk. We'll talk offline. And that'll somebody sneezed, I think, on your end.
Yeah, that was my roommate. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. All right. But anyway, yeah, I should say that a little bit easier. I think we're at the end. I'm actually getting hungry too. So, guys, we will be back here again on Wednesday for a market close. We got a video coming out on Tuesday that you absolutely do not want to miss. So mark it in your calendars, folks. And next Sunday, it's the first of the year, first of the month. So that means we got memberships to give away at the same time. So you'll
Hype is
definitely not
building.
want to miss that one. All right. Until then, everybody, take care and have a fantastic what's left of your weekend. Bye, everybody. Oh, it's not going.
Oh,
Every
we're still
so often
live.
It doesn't go.
We're still live.
We'll try it again. Bye, everybody.